Now buckle up, because tonight we'll have a riveting discussion on whether diaspora Kenyans unknowingly fuel this trend among their relatives back home. Have we set unrealistic expectations, or has a new sense of entitlement taken root? In our conversation tonight, we'll delve into strategies for navigating these delicate waters without rocking the boat of familial bonds and kinship. And in a headline-making twist, award-winning Afrobeat sensation Davido unleashed legal fury on Kenyan media house K24 over a prank story about his alleged arrest. So stay tuned for this and more. And you can go down and start typing in the comments the most ridiculous request you've ever received from a relative, because it's Friday the 5th of April. Na Melia Envy the People's Kamkunji inangonanga. Na mimi ni Ali Badawi aka 𝙁𝙍𝙗𝙊𝙀𝙗𝙀, and this is the One Mic Show. Karibuni.
Remember, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend that the People's Kamkunji is about to be in full effect. We shall take a 1-minute pause. Just keep it right there. Go grab your drink. Go grab your whatever, popcorn. Put your feet up. Put your phone on silent. Ndio msisumbuliwe. We'll be right back.
Somebody about you. Ukinena yatoweka, mapepo yatoweka, au kinena viwete wajiweza, viwete wajiweza, au kinena
All right, mabibi na mabwana, karibuni tena ndani ya One Mic Show, na ni furaha kujiunga nanyi wapenzi wasikilizaji, tukiwa tumekuandalia taarifa za kusisimua, mziki ukata viungo na kindumbwe cha siasa au politics ukipenda. We are streaming live from Facebook from Kilimanjaro studios outside Washington DC. We will shortly be going live on YouTube, so please call all your YouTube friends. Please remember to subscribe to both our YouTube and Facebook pages at The One Mic Show, and then follow us on Instagram at One Mic Show. We're now also out on TikTok, so make sure you follow us on TikTok. We're also going to be taking live calls tonight at 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. And then later tonight, we'll have a fascinating discussion on whether diaspora Kenyans unknowingly fuel the trend of dependency anticipation amongst relatives back home. Have we set unrealistic expectation, or has a new sense of entitlement taken root? So I want you to stay tuned for that. And please let us know in the comment section right now, for those already tuned in, the most ridiculous request you have ever got from a relative back home. Please start typing it up right now so that we can read it out loud and just understand what some Kenyans are going through out in the diaspora. Na bila kusahau, tutapokea mziki toka DJ wetu machachari mleta habari DJ Moshfire na kudunda kule viwanjani na Mika Ochi jezi nambari 7 mgongoni akituletea habari za michezo. Na moja kwa moja toka Kilimanjaro studios ni mimi mtangazaji na mwanahabari wako mpendwa 𝙁𝙇𝙀𝙾𝙈. Kwetu wananiita mteule na wengine mniite mjukuu yule wa Masai, because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, Masai by choice. Sichagui, sikagui, na sibagui. Karibuni.
Now, let's talk politics.
Now this hour we'll have a conversation on how diasporans should navigate issues of entitlement from relatives back home. Where do we draw the boundary without breaking familial bonds? We'll also be talking about Davido's move to sue K24 following a prank story about his arrest. So please drop a comment below. And Mika is also going to be joining us on Zoom. I'm not sure if he's already there. But I'm your co-host and producer, 𝙁𝙇𝙀𝙀𝙀, and it's Friday the 5th of April. We are streaming live from Kilimanjaro studios outside Washington, D.C. Please remember to follow One Mic Show on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We also now on TikTok. Our page is live, so make sure you follow us there too. And on panel with me tonight is Mr. One Mic Kamakawa. Our sports anchor Mika Och, of course, will be joining us via Zoom. Our resident DJ Moshfire is going to be live on set shortly. And also not forgetting that our super producer is Mubelwa Bandio. And now to just get us started, I can see Washeke Ndirangu is already in the building. Watu sijui leo weko wapi. Remember to tag everyone at highlight, at everything. I don't know whether I exhausted mine, because yangu nowadays inakataa. Yo at highlight at everyone whenever I try it, or I don't know whether it's when I move back and forth between the One Mic Show.
I think you've been banned from that. I think you have been told, but the boss.
Yeah, I think I've been shadow banned. I think that there's a limit to how many of those you can use.
Yeah.
But as we wait for people to get in and maybe start giving us their comments, now recent reports show that the largest source of diaspora remittance to Kenya is the US. Now, close to 60% of all remittances that go to Kenya come from Kenyans living in the United States. Mm-hmm. Now, before I get to the panel tonight with this conversation, I want those tuned in to guesstimate what percentage of your annual income goes towards remittances. And I want people also on the panel, Mika, Unomaiko, Mosh, to think about that. Just guesstimate what percentage of your gross annual income goes towards remittances. And after doing that, please drop the number in the comment section below. Remember, this is just a guesstimate and does not have to be accurate. So just drop that number in the comment. What do you think? Is it 50%? Is it 40%? Is it 10%? Is it 5%? Whatever percentage you think of your gross income that you're sending back home, just drop that in the comment section. Later, I'm going to reveal what studies show regarding the actual numbers. So you want to stay tuned for that. But for now, drop in the numbers in the comments so that we can get started. And as we wait for the rest of the panel, I'm going to start right here in studio with 𝙀𝙀𝙧𝙀𝙀. 𝙀𝙀𝙧𝙀𝙀, karibu sana. And maybe please get us warmed up by telling us what is the most ridiculous request you've ever got from a relative back home. It could be financial, it could be non-financial. Any ridiculous request.
Does it have to be a relative?
It doesn't have to be a relative. It could be a friend. It could be someone masquerading as a relative. It could be anyone.
Damn. There have been several. Let us just say.
Yeah.
There are many.
Think of the ridiculous one.
Okay, so one was somebody asked me to send him $120. They would pay me in a week.
Okay.
$120.
Okay.
I'll be paid in a week. Mind you, this guy pengine tuseme hatujaonana since 94.
Wow. Okay. Do you regularly talk?
We're in a chat group.
Okay.
So kuna
banter.
Kuna banter, but it's not that. It's not at the active at vile like we'll be kega then yaje habari ya familia. Not even that.
Yeah.
It's just one of those sambaza. Oh, another one. Being part of several groups. And I think many have experienced this. We were in a group for Mashakaya memorial, whatever. Somebody had passed away.
Yeah.
This guy was going around. It's a Brito number. Was going around soliciting people to enter Bitcoin or Forex trading.
Wow, okay. Forex trading
and by the way, the thing is, we're like, I text the guy, I'm like, yo boss, we are in the middle of grieving. People are grieving here. What is this nonsense? What exactly are you doing?
So,
but he was in Brito though. I don't know. He was in Brito. But still, it's along those lines. Okay. Another one was probably, let's say, unaambiwa, person you've never met, lakini banta ukuanga, kikundi ya ball.
Yeah.
Angeusa anaambia we, somebody just says, you know what boss, unisukumie tu kirea, unisukumie tu taska mbili ama pills na mbili.
Okay, roho safi.
Straight to the point.
Hakuna hata kujifanya.
Ati weka there, how was your day, how was the week, ni aje, mambo ya fanya hivi please. Naomba kwa unyenyekevu, nisukumie taska mbili.
Okay.
Sometimes you're like, shika taska mbili.
Okay.
Na hiyo namaliza.
Aya, sawa. Like, I also have a very ridiculous request that I once got. And it was a mix of like hilarious and I could not believe that someone is actually requesting this from me. I'm gonna talk about that shortly. But for the moment, I want people to type up, like, what percentage of your annual gross income do you think you send to Kenya? It's a guesstimate. There's studies, which there's a study which I'm going to reveal shortly. But for now, just give us a guesstimate of what percentage of your gross income you think you send to Kenya as remittances. I can see a number of people already in here. 𝙀𝙀𝙧𝙀𝙀, karibu sana. And a big shout out to 𝙀𝙀𝙧𝙀𝙀. She's the one who inspired us to get into this topic today. A very important conversation, a very uncomfortable conversation, especially from those of our relatives who are going to be listening to this show.
It is what it is.
It's a very uncomfortable, but it's a conversation that needs to be had. I can see Washeke says umebaniwa juu ya hiyo Arafat. I think she's referring to why I can't do at highlight or at everyone because of the Arafat I'm wearing. Na hii Arafat ndazidi kuvaa. Mbaka ile siku we are going to crash that algorithm. And they won't even know whether we're wearing Arafat or not.
Wanajaribu though. I say.
Oh yeah.
Wanajaribu. Did you? I don't mean to digress, but you saw the idiot who went onto I think it was MSNBC or CNBC. MSNBC. Morning Joe, I think.
Yeah.
He was some type of guy, and he was trying to justify.
Yeah.
The continuation of what they're doing, the IDF and Israel.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't see that one, but I know there've been multiple people who've been trying to Ben Shapiro and that whole
Ben
crew.
Shapiro, we know those ones.
And
they let go of your girlfriend.
Candace Owens.
Candace Owens.
Yeah, that one we're going to have a conversation. But the good thing with black people, we always accept back our prodigal children.
No, this one.
Yeah, not
this
yet.
One.
She's not been fully accepted.
No, she will not.
She's not been fully accepted. But pole,
bro,
you know, people. There's some people who are empathizing with that right now.
Did you watch the deconstruction by Uncle Roro?
We're going to talk about that later on in the show. But yeah, so we're talking about what percentage of your income do you think you send back home in remittances? Now, Washeke Ndirangu says 35%.
Jesus.
Now, Washeke, just tell us, is this 35% like just remittances to go to expenses assistance, or do you have some investments that you have back home that it's going towards? Maybe just give us a bit of a breakdown. Mika says only 3%. So Mika is one of the lucky few, you know, because I know, because 3%, if let's say you're earning $100,000, that means you've only sent 3K. Yeah. So Mika is a lucky few. Or maybe Mika earns $1 million.
I was going to say.
Yeah, maybe Mika earns $1 million. We don't know.
Let us probably say up 300, 400,000.
Yeah, na kama 300, 400,000 is what he earns. Yena natusimamia next week Boston Marathon.
Kabisa.
Yena nasimamia kila kitu.
Tuihamwe.
Yeah, but 3%, well, that's on the lower side, you know, like compared to what most people have. DJ Christian Rain Digital, karibu sana. Anasema immediately you say you will send something. The calls come every single day and hour.
Bro.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Wow.
So you better not say anything if you're not ready to send it right then.
Yes.
Na kumaliza your story. And then also in the comments, please type any ridiculous request. It could be financial or non-financial that you got from back home. Please talk to us in the comment section. And then Washeke says someone called me when he was in a bar so that I could pay his tab. And this is now becoming more brazen, more blatant, and more common. Because unaona sasa, just where you said someone, you know, like asked you for taskambili, and then hapa Washeke anasema someone, you know, someone called her to ask her to pay his tab.
I would venture out to hypothesize that huyu mtu regularly used to or still does probably and sheke sambazas.
Yeah.
Unaona, my hypothesis, because even it has happened to me. Nimepigiwa simu gaze tuma chupa, tuma shufa moja bwana. Ati hunters, wanakora ni hunters, hata kama ni hunters tuma.
Yeah, you know, so I mean, you know, like it's one of those things where I don't even know how to explain it, but it's happening.
And then 1%, bro.
Yes, Luis Muya, 1.3%. These are people who either they have zero relatives back home, they are Americans, or they
investment 1 million plus up.
Yes.
So you know him, you're 1%.
So 1% of 1 million is come at 10K.
Yeah.
So that's a fair amount.
That is within his
so I think the 1%ers up are slowly revealing themselves.
Pole tu.
Mika and Luis Muya.
Kwani wacha kuna swali. Unatuma 10K Kenya, unamjenga unatengeneza.
So Mika,
it's over the year, bro. Over the year.
We're talking about gross income over the full year. Over the full year.
That's what I'm saying, over the full year, yeah. Why are you sending 10,000?
Well, okay. So, we want to know how much your full year in dollar terms.
In dollar terms?
Approximately, yeah.
Ile baka nimepata mabeste ile kwa group ya ball mtu ananiambia leo nitupie nichukulie mzinga na mtupia ka 50.
Yes.
Sio there.
So but generally
karibu I would say like karibu 3,000 at most.
Or 3,000 for a whole year.
Yeah.
Okay. Then Mika, you're one of the lucky few. You're one of the lucky few. You know, like mina jua watu wanatuma 10,000, 20,000.
Yeah, I can understand how it happens, especially if you're here by yourself. Like it is a neuron nakasi wanted to.
Okay.
And then we don't really have reason to send anything home because we really don't have like there's somebody
But hamna someone beyond your nuclear family, like a second cousin or someone who played with the neighbor of your grandfather. You know those
sasa hiyo 3000 nakwambia sasa hiyo ni ile ukitumia kuna ule leo unajua unaokolea labda na kitu fulani. Kuna
okay.
Zile vitu mostly do yenye si utumo kwa tu do. Hata siri I think we have like a because I'm trying to think of it. It's usually just like, no, most of the expenses over the years have reduced as people have started working, people have finished school, nini expenses mobs have reduced.
Yeah.
Previous years, yes, the expenses were high. Right now I can say for most of my relatives who will say like depend on like kule ungekuwa unaokolea sana, wengi wale walikuwa college wamemaliza college, wale walikuwa washamaliza shule like the branch out have gone to do other things, so there's really not that much that I have that I will say I'll be sending money to. But back a few years back there was time I was sending a lot of that. And then kuna vile ile ukisema remittance hiyo ya family kutegemea, yes. Then there was a time when I was doing business, I was sending a lot, but then now the businesses that are back home are taking care of themselves. So
okay. Kwa hivyo uko sawa. Kwa hivyo inamaanisha Boston next weekend.
Boston next weekend kwanza nyindo masonko.
Umejireveal Mika. So mimi nakuja, hata na wacha wallet nyumbani. Na kama tu na ID. Na wacha wallet nyumbani.
Umezao mimi nakula unemployment.
Anyway, hiyo acha tutaongea. So hapa Indefatigable is saying my girl called me in fact, before we go, we get to Indefatigable's comment. Let me read Washeke's comment. Washeke says, it's not my amount, but the average Kenyan send home. Sometimes it's not even for investment, but rather financial support, e.g. school fees, rent.
Yeah.
Actually, I hadn't spoken to that person here. So Washeke, give us your amount. Just a guesstimate. I mean, we know mapato yako iko pale juu, but just give us, like a guesstimate of what percentage of your gross income.
Na mapato si IUL.
Yeah. Mapato si IUL. Yeah. Mapato is income. Yeah. Like what you get, brother, what you send as a percentage of your gross income. Because we're just trying to get to something here. I'm going to reveal a study here that actually gives an estimate of how much most Kenyans send as a percentage of the income amongst the Kenyans who send money back home. And then I have up Indefatigable Wanjeri says, my girl called me crying saying she's being thrown out by the landlord for not paying rent. I was extremely broke. I borrowed 350. Months later, I found out she was buying a washing machine. Wow. Okay. Now that right there, that is annoying.
Mimi hizo niliacha kusikia. That is mtoto ni mgonjwa, mtoto amefukuzwa. If you come to me uniambie mtoto yako amefukuzwa fee, na kuambia nganipatie pay bill number ya shule.
Yes.
Nitalipa huko kwa sababu sisi niko na namba ya Safaricom and I have this.
Yes.
If you tell me it's a hospital need, again, give me the pay bill number, I'm going to pay. Mimi easy cuz me, I have somebody who was a really close relative. End month alikuanga na hustle. Atanitumia mimi message, atatumia Dan, atatumia Elvo, atatumia Mel,
all the brothers.
Yeah. Kila mmoja anaambiwa mtu huyu yuko sisi na ndio kulipa bill. Until one day tukaulizana, kwani mtu waucha aliwanga msiki kila mwezi? Ati yeye kuuliza pia wewe pia milioni uliza. Only to realize, so the worst thing is that hiyo siku nilituma nikisema hivyo, hata si 2 hours later unajua said WhatsApp status, mimi na WhatsApp status once in a blue moon. Hiyo siku nimeboeka ni kama kuingia kwa WhatsApp status.
On the day you decide.
Jamaa alikuwa anapepea Mombasa na warembo mbaya.
So you see, these are some of the problems that that come through, and this is a common story. You know, like the interesting one I once got was you know, like someone inboxing me, and it's someone that I don't exactly know, but it's these people who you share WhatsApp groups with. And this person was telling me that that he had recently become a Muslim, and his whole family his whole family had abandoned him because he had become a Muslim. So he urgently needed, you know, like at least $200 to just get something, and it was during Ramadan. So he needed like $200 just to gather something to be able to go do some shopping for his family. So I was like, so this person was very smart. Like, he knows how to emotionally, he checked all the emotional points. Aliona sasa huyu alini Muislamu, ni Ramadhani, na nini. There's no way in which he can say no. So me, I was like, this is someone I totally don't know. You know, like, and he almost got me. But then I told him, you know, like, tell me because of the line of work that I've been in previously, we sometimes, you know, like, know how to find scammers. And here's one tactic, you know, like, if you want to know a scammer,
please do share.
This is just one quick tactic that you can pick someone who's trying to scam you. So ashaweka all this emotional, you know, like touching points. And at that time, my mom was at my place, and I was even talking to my mom. I was like, hey, angalia huyu hapa. And me, my mom, when it comes to matters religion, yani she's super emotional. She was like, fanya vilivyo, mtumie saizi.
Sambaza.
But sasa mimi, the thing that I was suspicious about is, first of all, I don't know who this is. And then, so I asked him, you know, like,
yani, there's nothing common, like you're not in a WhatsApp group or whatever.
So back at that time, he told me he's in one of the diaspora. Your time, mambo ya Azimio nini ilikuwa imechacha. So he was telling me you're in one. I'm in one of the Azimio groups.
Kerea, last the previous
2022. Yeah.
Son of a
yeah. So you see, it's fairly recent. So it was one of the, and those groups have so many people.
Yeah.
254 na hapa. So akaniambia, you know, like, we're in one of those groups na nini. So I did not, and by that time, WhatsApp was not revealing what common groups you have. Now they're revealing what common groups you have when someone texts you.
Oh, really? I thought they did.
No, that's something that started fairly recently. They were not revealing the common groups. But what I did is I asked him, you know, like, where exactly are you? So this guy made the fatal mistake of telling me
a place you know very well
where he is. It wasn't even a place I knew very well. He told me a place in Limuru. So I can't remember the name of the place, but I went to Google to find the closest mosque there. So nikaipata, nikamwambia kuna mtu namjua kwa hii mosque, nenda hapo ukachukue chakula. Give him a very small task. I figured out this is very close to where he is. Give him a very small task. Hapo ndo akaanza kunitukana. Kaboom, ndo nikajua jamani scammer. Whenever you're suspecting someone is scamming you, just give them a very minor task. They will not do it because they're probably doing it with 100 other people. They would rather, you know, like, go scam the other 99 people than start doing tasks kwa mtu ambaye they already feel amekuwa suspicious. Sasa matusi zikaanza kumwagika, and I was like, oh, that is very good. So that happened to me like 2 years ago.
What?
And then I can see a lot of comments are coming here. Luis Muya anasema niliambiwa nitume ya drinks na mbuzi for Christmas. Meanwhile, I was working overtime on the said Christmas trying to make $1. Now, Washeke anasema for the last 5 years, the percentage of her overall income that she's been sending home is 0.005%.
Wagade, si tumekubaliana hapa.
Yeah.
Ma 1% wanaji-expose.
Yeah, so that's
no, si 1%.
Play along, Mika, play along.
Okay.
Wacha nikwambie, the one thing that will save you money. Ukijua kusema hapana. Unaona vile you see the Ali yuko na roho poa, lakini again he actually likes asking questions. When you build that mindset, you're going to save yourself a lot.
Absolutely.
But ukipunga tu msetua woishe kila nilikuwa ngamsoa woishe man.
Mzee utakungutwa.
It's expensive.
utakungutwa.
Na utakoniwa dono watu wengi sana.
As Omosh correctly said, hurumani estate.
And then Mubelo hapa anasema hapo Alibadawi akapigwa in the name of God. Probably mtu aliiba simu ya mtu. Now another interesting thing that this guy was saying, Mubelo hata amenikumbusha hapa, this same guy alikuwa ananiambia ati simu yake battery inaenda kuisha na hana charger. Ati in fact alianza na simu iko 12%. So while we engaging each other for more than 2 hours, simu bado ijazimika. Yeah. And then sasa after a while anambia sasa iko 5%. So hapo, you know, like these are the things scammers usually try to, especially expert scammers, they know their target audience, they know the things that are gonna capture them very fast. This guy almost got me. It's just that I have a tendency of all the time pausing and thinking before pulling the trigger because
tendency.
I have a tendency.
You have a tendency.
Yes, I have a tendency.
It's not a tendency.
Yeah.
It is your DNA.
Okay, maybe I have a habit. Let's use the word habit maybe. Of pausing before pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that, man, utanini.
The way you usually pause and ask us, what are the sources? Provide a link.
Yeah, I mean,
which is true, which is good.
It's a habit that I built.
It is important.
Yeah, and sometimes people don't like it, but it will. What I can tell you is that it's gonna save you money. And someone who's in real need will be patient enough to wait for that money. And then Washeke says, I've learned to put firm boundaries, and no is a complete sentence. Mika.
Ali ingine a very good scamming line. Nilikuwa nataka unisaidie na 25,000 ndakulipa on Friday. Nimekuwa hapa lakini ndakulipa Friday. Muambia mtu if you're sure you're going to make money that 25,000 on Friday, there's no creditor who will refuse to wait for their money. Ikwe landlord, ikwe nani umwambie napata pesa Friday. Why are you asking for somebody for money on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and you're going to get money on Friday? Umwambia kulipa Friday. That is another one unajuanga hapa naingizwa box. Because if they believe that if they have that surety of paying you like unasikia pesa yangu itakawia sana nje, you're more likely to give than if somebody told you alinisaidie sina sijui ndakulipa siku gani.
Yeah. And then another one ni nimeshikwa na makarao, you know, like wamenishika wanataka dosa hizi. You know, so that has happened to me too. Wanataka dosa hizi.
Me, I have.
Yeah.
And it's somebody very, very close.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was, I believe it was genuine.
You believe?
I believe.
Okay.
Because I believe it was genuine.
Yeah.
Because even when I went home.
Yeah.
But that one, Maze, like, you know, you start getting calls. But it's one of those, I know that if this call comes, normally it's a call that comes, Leo, niaje. A day later, I already know here I am being primed. Hapa napakwa tu mafuta.
Yeah.
Alafu on the third call.
Yeah.
Gade, sifanya hivi, si unitumie 10,000 nataka kufanya kitu nini nitakurudishia. I've already been primed.
Yeah, I know. Hiyo hapo ndakurudishia, unajua hiyo.
No.
Hiyo ni wia tu sadaka.
But I sometimes get back, but
okay.
Yeah.
And Washeke again says, my philosophy is your lack of planning does not constitute an emergency. And then Wanjeri says, this is so common, especially on Fridays. People be shameless. Yeah. So here's the interesting thing. The actual the study that I was talking about suggests that the typical Kenyan in the US who sends money back home allocates between 20 to 30% of their gross income on remittances. So that's a very significant amount.
Shit.
You know, because when you're talking 30%, it's 20 to 30%.
But that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense, but it's a very significant amount. A lot of people don't realize it. You know, like you have a job that's paying you 100K, and you actually, and you know, like I think with the ease of sending money, you tend to send a lot of more. Back when you had to go to Western Union or you had to go through some hurdles to send money, you know, like it wasn't that easy. And then the way now you can send these small amounts, $20 here, $50 here, $30 there,
$10
they
here.
end up, when you request for your statement, and now it's no longer just a statement from Sendwave, it's a statement from Sendwave, Nala, Tap, and all these other money, Remitly, all these other money apps. When you put them together, up on Otajo,
even Western Union,
yeah,
they have reduced their prices. Yeah, Mika.
Like, I think my percentage is high because I've remembered I send myself money when I'm in Kenya. Even remittance.
Apana,
going to Safaricom.
No, remittance, that's like stealing your own goods. You know, like you I don't think counts as remittance. But I think when you're doing that tally, that total, that will also pop up.
It will pop up.
Yeah, it will pop up.
But
especially like Kenya December. December,
Yeah.
familia, what.
But
That
then,
is
you
where
know,
the
I
spike
understand
is.
how that 30% really happens, because if we look at it this way, most of the time when most of us Kenyans, what we have is most of us have this dream of going back home at some point.
Yes.
And with that dream of going back home at some point, most of us are investing back home. We're trying to get something, tutafute kujaribu kununua kaproti, ujaribu kununua kanyumba, ujaribu nini.
Yes.
And then we have now also a lot of Kenyans who are investing in Airbnb businesses in Kenya. Like people are trying to invest in small businesses, like different kind of businesses back home to try to do that.
Yeah.
And then we have siblings, younger siblings. There's so many, you know, some of us have family over here, but a majority of the people over here, you'll find it's maybe one or two siblings who are here. And now you have to take care of everybody else. And then there are those who just do it out of appreciation, like, okay, my parents brought me here, now I'm working, I'm doing that, I have to take care of them. So you can see how someone can easily send more than 20% of their salary back home.
Yeah. I mean, it can very easily happen. But here's what people need to understand. You know, like over a 10-year period, you know, like if you're sending, let's say, for example, $30,000 every year, over 10 or maybe over 15-year period, that's enough money to pay off a house. Just think about that.
Yeah. $30,000 a year.
Yeah, if you're sending $30,000 a year,
how long?
Over a 15-year period.
Bro, in 10 years, ushamaliza $300,000.
Yeah, $300,000. I mean, nowadays the $300,000 homes are rare. But I mean, when we look back, when we start looking back, and you're living in a place like Texas where houses, I know recently houses have gone up, but where you used to find homes below 300,000,
220, 250.
So think about it. You know, like over that period of time, you could have paid off a house. Mika,
hiyo 30,000 a year inatosha kupata down payment. No, the down payment no kuna like a money that is they say like operating money to get an SBA loan and buy a fully functional, profitable business in America.
Absolutely. You can invest in real estate.
So that is life-changing money. You can invest in real estate. That is life-changing money.
Life-changing money.
Most people don't realize that.
So it's life-changing money that can actually build generational
wealth for you.
So I think here's my typical advice to let's say, like, for example, some of my family members who came after me, who've come here more recently. Here's my typical advice, especially when you're still new here. Na bado, you know, you're still living with relatives, or you're still living with, you're not paying rent. Those are usually the best days. If you especially get a relative mwenye amekubali uishi na usilipe rent, you know, like those are the days that you want to take advantage of. My advice is typically do not spend more than 5%. To me, I think 5% is the hard limit for anybody who's getting started right now. I mean, we are all victims of the mistake of sending more. And some of it is out of necessity. Some of it is out of lack of knowledge. But I think to me, you know, like my financial numbers that I have done, you know, like your black tax should not exceed 5%. And in this 5%, I'm also including pesa za matanga, because that's also another problem. It's not the topic of today. And you know, someone who's new, maybe you have a modest job. Maybe you're making, let's say, 60K a year. 5% of 60K, hapo ndo pali sasa 3K imefika. Now, 3K over 12 months, when you do the math, that's about, it's about 20, is it $25 a month? My math is failing me here. $25 a month. No, it will not be $25 a month. If you do $50 a month, that's gonna be a year. That's gonna be nikombali. It's $250 a month. So 3K a year is $250 a month. So you just have to have that hard cap. You know, like anything more than that, I cannot be giving it out, because now when you're giving out this money, remember you're giving up on generational wealth that you could have been building through your 401k.
Yeah.
You could have been building through an IRA, through so many other tools that you have. So that's the piece of advice that I give to people. And I want to remind the listeners that this is the One Mic Show, and we're talking about entitlement, you know, from back home, from relatives, from friends, from family. What is one of the most ridiculous requests that you've ever got from someone back home regarding, you know, like a need they have, be it financial or non-financial? That's what we're talking about. And the number to call is 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. We want to
caller here.
Yeah, we already have a caller.
Yes, sir.
Yes, but because I think we want to hear other people's experiences, so that even people who are listening to us from back home also understand the position that we are in. And you know, and having some patience and building your wealth fast before sending this money will put everyone in a winning position. Let's hear from the caller, and then we're going to continue.
Thank you for calling the One Mic Show. 9737. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
This is Wanjeri from Boston.
Oh,
Wanjeri from Boston. We are on our way next week.
will she be there? Will she be
Karibu,
there?
karibu.
Will she be there to
Huyu
receive us?
atakuwa huko, huyu hata niko
Faisal
sure yuko
skirts.
We are,
Aya,
we, are,
red
we, are,
carpet.
we are inviting ourselves. So wherever you'll be, just drop the pin.
Oshoro,
We are not even asking for an
Mokimo,
invitation.
Omenyi Ogwo.
So just drop the pin.
I
and
got
tukajileta.
you. I got you.
Okay. All right. Good. So
So she's laughing.
talk to us, Wanjeri.
Okay. So great topic, by the way, and good evening.
Good evening.
So I will not get into the percentages, but
Yeah.
last year I called myself into a meeting because I realized I was on average sending between 18 to 25,000 a year
Where?
to Kenya to
What?
people.
Yeah.
And yes, and that's not money that is going to benefit me. So it is, you know, you're paying school fees, sijui nini, all kinds of things. And at some point, I actually went through all my statements from, you know, Wave and all that. And I knew I was sending a lot of money, but I didn't know I was sending that kind of money.
Wow. Okay.
Right? It was really shocking. But actually, what made me do that is because you know, I lost my brother, and he had kids, and so I was supporting. You know, I've been supporting his kids. And the baby mama one time, she cast me out because I'd sent her money for fare to take my nephew to school, and then she actually spent the money. Right? I had paid for everything. I'd given her fare. She spent the money. And then she called me asking me to send her fare, and I told her I already sent you fare. And she cast me out for refusing to send, you know, the second fare, basically, because I put my foot down. So the way she cast me out, that was the best thing she ever did to me, because I need to see very, very strong words that were not necessary. I've been there for her for 10 years.
Pole sana.
But it made me question myself.
Pole sana.
And
So
I went back and
literally alikula
Yeah.
fare.
Yes, and I went and asked for all the statements from mostly Wave and also do bank transfer.
Okay.
And when I went back like the last 10 years, and I realized even like from around 2019, the money just kept increasing, and then of course after COVID, I think the highest I got was like 24,000, and I was like, there is no way this is happening again.
More than
And
Okay.
so I put
So over a 10-year period, that was you likely sent more than 200K over a 10-year period.
way more than that, because the statement I got from Wave actually shocked me, and I had never requested for it until I requested it, and I was blown away at how much money I had spent. And then now I have the bank transfers, and that is not money going to me. Like, it's not an investment or anything.
But now that from the moment you learned that you were sending a lot of money, like maybe what steps did you take to mitigate the amount of money that you are sending, and how did you handle that situation? I mean, of course, you talked about one of your brother's baby mamas, but now the other people who are depending on this money, how did you handle it, and how did your relationship with them go from there when you said that we cannot keep doing this?
So some of them we've cut ties, and that was actually a good thing. Like the baby mama, we cut ties, and we actually had a meeting with her family, and I told them this cannot continue.
Wow.
So I will only pay school fees, and I told them very clearly. I was basically paying everything. And I think what happens, at least in my case, somebody calls you, hey, Wanjeri, sijui mtoto ni mgonjwa, and then, it's like maybe 15,000. So in your head, you're like, okay, that's only like $90 or whatever, right? So you don't see it as a lot of money because you're doing small amounts. And so now what I did is I put my foot down and I said, I am not the father of those kids. I'll only be paying for school fees, period. If there is sijui uniform, mtoto ni mgonjwa, I put my foot down. I called the family to a meeting and I told them, I will only pay school fees. If there is a trip at school, I am not paying for it. So this seems like the last 8 months. That is what I have done. I also sponsor kids to high school. And what I found out, and this is something I'm learning, especially with Kikuyu, and I'm sorry because I'm one, especially with Kikuyu parents. So once you agree to sponsor their kids through high school, they expect you to meet every need, right? So if the shoes don't fit, viatu za mtoto, if the uniform does not fit, right? And I have paid school fees for other tribes. They don't have that nonsense. If you pay the school fees, the parents are very glad you've agreed to take the school fees. Kikuyu beneficiaries, for some reason, they want everything to be on you. And I've talked to a few people, and we found out it's very consistent, right? So you pay the school fees, they come and tell you, sina fare kupeleka mtoto shule. Sijui viatu zimefanya nini. And you'll ask them, what are you going to contribute? And they will shamelessly tell you nothing. Right? So that is also something that I have changed. It's like if you agree to sponsor a child, unless it's a very, very dire situation, and there's a few of those which are very dire. But if it's the other cases, then it's like, no, I will help you with the school fees. The rest of it is on you. You have to do the rest of it. So that's what I've done. Even with my own family now, I tell them, I'm like, no, you're not going to do this anymore.
Wow.
And you tell them, it's like you realize, I've lived in America for 27 years, and you find out you've just been living for others, and these people will never be there for you. They will never be there for you. And we're getting older, so we have to think of our future, and that is what has been the wake-up call for me. But you have to secure your own future, because these people just keep pushing the boundaries of what you should do for them.
Now, Wanjeri, before we let you go, I think Mike has a question, but real quick, just tell us, do you think this habit where, you're paying fees, but now it morphs into school uniform and money for trips and money for harambes that are happening in school. Are we the ones, we diasporans, are we the ones who enabled this behavior, or where did it come from? Because for every Wanjeri who has now refused to pay for the shoes and for the harambes, there are 10 other people who, any other expense being loaded, they kubali and they pay the extra amount. So are we the ones who are enabling it, or what exactly is happening, especially like within your community, Wanjeri?
I think, like in my case, and I'll give you the example with the baby mama, right? I have been paying for everything. And when I say everything, I literally mean everything. And I was like, let's see what will happen when I don't pay for all those things. And I put my foot down, and for several months, she will get other people to call me, because I blocked her. And I put my foot down and I said, no. They're still continuing, right? Life is going on for them. You know, my nephew is still going to school. But I think some of it, especially among Kikuyus, and I'll say this because I have seen it with my community, I think some of it is a sense of entitlement. And then if you're someone like me who has no kids, people feel very entitled to your money.
Ooh.
And I've actually had my aunt call me one time and tell me, oh, but you don't have any kids. Kwani, where does your money go?
Wow. Okay, now that right there is another dimension that we had not even thought about. That right there is a very unique, different dimension. That entitlement coming because people know you don't have a child.
Yes. And like for me, that is actually one of the traps that I fell into, right? It's like, oh, people guilt you into, oh, you don't have kids. And then, you know, they see that you travel and they think they should, you know, you should not be traveling when they're suffering. And I told them, no, I save to travel. So that my money for travel is not debatable. It's not, you know. But I think part of it is, and I have a lot of friends who have no kids, is because you have no kids, then you're guilted into raising all the other kids in your family from your brothers, maybe they're drunkards or whatever, and you know what alcohol has done to people in Central.
Oh, yes.
So you see these kids that genuinely need to go to school, especially. And then I think the other problem, like in Kenya, like if you take, let's say, a Form 1 child, the money they have to do upfront as a Form 1 child to go to school is insane.
It's
right?
insane,
So some schools, on average, the uniform is at least 30,000. So you're telling this parent they need at least 70,000 to 100,000 to report to Form 1 because they have to buy mattresses, so some of this you genuinely see it's a need that you need to help, and then maybe decide you will not do it again.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Wanjeri, asante sana. We're going to meet you in Boston. Hiyo pesa ya traveling, because umesema traveling ndo mtoto wako. Your money is for traveling. So put us in that budget.
Put us in that budget as your children
travel to you.
Yes.
We're going to bring travel to you. Think of us as,
and it's only once a year. It's only this year.
Yeah,
so
it's only this year.
2024.
Yeah.
Go to.
And then next year,
Hatutampata Boston. Sijui
I will be here.
Okay.
We'll be hollering.
Now, have you gotten your tickets for Dinner with Champions? Because there's a Dinner with Champions happening that weekend. If you haven't, please.
Somebody's getting them for me because you're doing it on Cash App. Not some of us don't do Cash App because we got hacked. I don't know why they don't have another way to get them.
Venmo, Zelle, yada yada yada.
Okay, but someone is doing. This is Eventbrite. There is an Eventbrite link. Okay, but you said someone is getting it.
If you're being sorted, then we'll see you there.
Okay. Then if you're being sorted, that means you're gonna sort us when we come there next week. Asante sana.
Thank you,
Wanjeri. Definitely.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you.
You know what I was going to say?
Yes.
I was going to say, I see her point. And when I say I see her point, you know, especially with family, and I think sometimes the best example you can give is something that you have gone through, you know, and sometimes, you know, there are times where when family reaches out, you just know this is a dire situation. When I say dire, you know, like now, let's say Ali, your mom, my mom are sisters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's say she has they have a cousin from one of their one of their aunties.
Yeah.
So let's say that line unaweza sema maze wako pabaya. And you're like, there's no one, even that lineage, there's no one willing to help. Then you can be like, you know what, sawa, watoto tunaweza saidia kama ni shule, kama ni, you know, we'll that one is good. And I remember there's one time we were talking with Dombolo and he said sometimes some of these people, it is not because they don't have. It is just because it is available.
It's available, yes.
That is it.
Yeah.
Mtu ana uwezo lakini anakupigia simu kukuuliza kama unaweza msaidia.
Yeah.
And there's that tendency, like when you go to visit, I don't know about you, but I will support. I'll speak for me. Sometimes when I go visit, unaweza kushikwa mkono, unaitwa kando.
Yeah.
Kuitwa kando, wanaanza kuuliza sasa niko na shida.
Yeah.
They start tabulating all their problems. Now, in that lineage, I can probably look at the people who are directly here. Like, let's say, if it's an uncle, you have got a son or you've got a nephew who's more closely linked to you, that is well-to-do. And I'm like, Uko, you that guy, why is he not being reached at?
Exactly.
But also yourself, when I look at it, it's not that you're bad off. You're not badly off. Right?
Yeah.
And that is something that it is infuriating. So sometimes even like me, you know what, fine, you can say Najiringa. But I'll go and I'll not even announce I'm coming. I just go visit Shosho. Go to Shosho's place, you know, hang out with Famo, then roll out. Another thing that is really, and Wanjeri mentioned, Pombe. Let me tell you, Johi. A guy has a farm by a river. Farm. It may not be, I'm not talking about 1 acre or whatever. You have enough, you can plant stuff.
Yeah. You can grow
grow your own food, your whatever, and even something to sell.
Yeah.
Kona mbuzi, maybe kangombe, something to kuku. But unashindwa kupeleka mtu shule.
Well,
let me tell you.
Yeah.
Right now, case in point, something that we are livid. And we're like, but then there's also that thing of, my grandfather really loved education. Najua comments are coming in thick and fast. Na bandio utaacha kusema sijui mambo ya kutetea Wakikuyu na sijui mambo ya sijui pombe na sijui nini.
No, bandio actually alikuwa anasema hamjaombwa hela ya kutoa mimba. Mimi hawa watu wanamomba bandio hela. I don't know what's going on. Uko
Bukoba na Kagera.
I don't know what's going on.
Hiyo huwezi prove. Ukituma anakuambia nilitoa na labda unataka kuingiza.
You know there are guys who get those calls.
Yeah.
Kuna watu wameitishwa hizo nini? Hizo pesa.
Yeah.
Yes, they are there.
Wakirudi January kutoka December.
Wakitoka
kwa jamaa while you was Samabani, you left something here.
You left something cooking. But I was going to say, what is the alcohol is a problem. But the alcohol is also a problem when you have a farm, but you're not being able to provide or do work on that farm to provide sustenance
because you're consuming alcohol.
Yeah. And it's so dire, you know, and you're like, but now your son or your daughter has done so well KCPE, right? And you're like, we can't, you know, it's like one of those, you cannot just let this kid carry. We know the father is madhogo than you, but you just can't let this kid. So like Mika said, shule, pay bill, enda shule.
Okay.
Now alafu unampatia pocket money, unasema until next whatever.
A couple of comments here been coming while we were busy chatting with Wanjeri. Mubelo anasema Uno is so ready to defend his people on kuomba hela ya viatu.
Afadhali defend watu wa viatu. Wewe na mimba utajitetea ukiwa pande gani?
Jamaa aseme tu kitu alikuwa anataka kusema, hakuwa anataka kusema viatu.
Kuna kitu kingine alikuwa anataka kusema.
Nini?
Bandio asema tu. Waru drop in the comments.
Si waru, wewe viatu zoko zinafunika nini?
Oh, jiggers.
Aya, Washeke anasema the assistance we offer is actually handicapping people from what I have seen. And this is something that I tend to agree with Washeke.
That is very true.
You know, like especially when let's say for example there's certain opportunities available. Mtu anaona badala ende kufanya kazi nilipwe 30 or 40k a month, I think it's easier to hustle people in the diaspora. I have 3-4 cousins there. I'm easily gonna make that amount.
Yes.
You know, like from
I mean, there's that
hustling.
tendency, kabisa.
Yeah.
100%.
And then Washeke Pia says, what hurts is these people will never even send you back to US with tea leaves, Royco. Our relationship with them is very exploitative. And this is what
100.
when
Ukifika Kenya unaulizwanga sasa jamaa.
Umetuletea nini?
Hata sisi umetuletea nini?
Wende unakuwa sponsor.
Unaulizwanga tunatoka saa ngapi kwa hii nyumba, tunaenda wapi, tunazunguka wapi, like the thing is this, and I think earlier something, have we in a sort of way encouraged this? Yes, we have. I believe we have, because with social media right now, like the world is like a village, right? So they can see your lifestyle that you're living and everything, and then when you go back home near December, and pia watu wakirudi home wengi utaka kujionyesha bazuu nini unabeba watu unakuanga na rende yako unazungusha. Obviously ile sherehe unapiga to your caliber that you can afford, you're going to lift them to that level, right?
yeah.
Ukitoka wameshazoea hiyo sherehe hiyo kitu ulio introduce kwao
for a month,
and guess what, itabaki sasa ni wewe niaje buda nini, like niaje bro, niaje sister, utakuwa tumwa hivi tu. Like I know somebody who actually alienda kukana rela wake kwa Airbnb, rela yake kurudi mseka kama akaamua pale anaishi siku sio kimao siku zuri, akahama akakuja
Airbnb.
No, siku ya Airbnb akatafuta nyumba Kilimani. Juu sasa si leo na maisha ya Kilimani mzuri kushinda sio kimao juu kwa Airbnb, kwa Airbnb Kilimani, akahama Kilimani. And then out of that Kilimani sasa ilikuwa ni kuhustle mabro wake ilibidi wamwambie man, you work ati aluzuli hama kutoka sio kimao kwa nini? You know, it gets to a point where it catches up to you and then you have to hustle. What about you? No, like why did you move? So as a PSU kwa tumencourage hiyo kitu. So me akiniomba so leo aombe ali so next month, aombe one mic next month. By the time anirudie 5 months zimeisha nilisawali niomba.
So anaanza tena rotating on his
own axis. Yeah, the rotation goes on.
Okay, hapa Njagi anasema if you're sponsoring anyone for school, you pay the fees directly to the school, and anything else it is the parents' responsibility. So I think this theme ya school fees is revolving around so much, and I think one of the issues that we can have as people living in the diaspora, because almost everyone who's sending money back home, there's a certain portion of it that's going to school fees, is one of the things that we have to be fighting for in the interest of our children and in our own interest, is to get education funded. Because the problem that we have is that on paper, the government says that education is free, primary and secondary. But we know the reality on the ground is totally different. So I think that's one of the things, you know, like last week we were contemplating what issues could we have in common as a diaspora. This is one issue that could have a direct effect on our pocketbooks. And here's what I'm going to tell people, people that regularly pay school fees. If you know that you're the one who's going to be paying school fees for a child from when he's in primary through secondary, and most of the time kama umemlipia, you're probably going to be responsible too for their college education, because if their parents can't afford primo, they can't afford high school, they probably can't afford university education.
That's for sure.
So here's my suggestion, and it's a very controversial suggestion. You know, like many people back home may not like hearing this. If you are paying fees for a child, especially if it's a family, it's more than a child, then you need to have a say on what school that child goes to. You cannot be paying McKinney fees when there's other alternative schools that the child can go to
100%
for
like
you know for a lower for lower school fees.
Shida squeeze ya nini?
Yes.
Shida squeeze ni in Kenya is the government which places the students.
Yeah.
Right? Na kupata transfer ya kutoa mtoi shule moja kumpeleka ingine, you'll have to bribe.
Okay.
Bribing.
Siku hizi watu endangi tu shule vile kaki si kitambo ati ulikuwa unaitwa shule fulani unakataa alafu unaenda shule hii.
Yeah.
No, wanakwanga na place wanagava, and then like even just like somebody, so it gets to a point whereby at a time nini, because we had to do it for one of my nieces. She was like she was among the top 10 students in the country, but then she was called to some school in Voi. Ati keshule fulani kavuka ko Voi. So to get her from that school to Kenya High, ilibidi to lambisha watu do. So
Facilitation.
So I don't understand how they place students like so wanaweza chukua mtu alikuwa number 1 another province wamlete huko, and somebody who got a good grade in Nairobi anapelekwa to a lesser school in another part of the country just because that they're trying to even out. I don't know they're thinking of how they're doing it right now.
But that's fair enough, Mika, for I mean, if it's a public school, because hizo school za kuitwa, those are not private schools, those are public schools. I'm talking, like maybe primary schools, for example. Primary schools, there's different options that parents tend to have. So hapo katika hizo options, like where unataka, because the you want to be in a social circle of parents who are paying 200,000 shillings a term, and unasema watu wako wa diaspora watalipa hiyo fees, yet there's options where you can pay 50,000 shillings, 50,000 shillings a term.
Mbona ulipe 50,000 upeleka mtoto shule ya CBC?
Ndio hivyo sasa.
You cannot afford fees.
You cannot afford,
and a CBC.
Yeah, ndo nasema if you can't afford, I mean, of course we know the quality is not the same as other school, but at the end of the day, you cannot afford. You're relying on someone else's income.
Who and by the way, that person you're talking, you're relying on, hata yeye akona shughuli zake,
akona shida zake. Yes. Yeah. Kama Wanjeri has to travel.
Yes.
Yeah, and she has to take care of us when we go to Boston. So
by the way,
so you can't
so you can't be
yeah.
We cannot be interfering in our Boston trip.
You cannot be interfering. So hapa let me see, Washeke says I have only one child and they do this to me too. And then Washeke father says both education and healthcare funding. These are the two big ones. These are the two big elephants in the room.
There's another one
that will directly affect the pockets of the diaspora.
Directly. There's another one I think you missed, and I think Washeke had probably mentioned.
Yeah.
Ile unajikuta uko kwa uweni guest of honor kwa Harambee committee, kama ni kujenga shule ama kanisa. Kwanza kanisa. Guest of honor.
Wacha kanisa, pre-wedding. You remember, me have my traumatic experiences with pre-weddings. And I'm never going back there.
No, listen, that is guest of honor.
Hey, one mic up and your story of pre-wedding. I guess pre-wedding.
No, it's a choice people have made, and I'll be calling you guys. Mupende muzipende. You can turn me down. But that one of committee of Harambee.
Where to fanya pre-wedding tutakulipia wedding yako.
Sawa, done. But yo ya Harambee.
Yeah.
Most people here, I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
I'm not but from my experience, Central, Kanisa, building fund.
Oh yeah, Kanisa.
Building funds.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about Central. I don't know about other places.
Yeah.
What I've seen.
No.
And in my family.
No. Kanisa is everywhere.
Kanisa is everywhere. So, yeah. Unaambiwa, by the way, and your boys will let you. Ali says, hey, by the way, you guys, anyone can spare us $10 or whatever. Because normally what happens is you're sent a flyer, a leaflet, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And this is maybe by an uncle.
To marinate you kidogo.
To be told you, by the way, iko na mchango, whatever you can send. Or sometimes you're sent one and your name appears there, Ali Badawi mjukuu wa Masai, guest of honor.
Na wewe mwenyewe, you are invited without consent.
Bro, sasa inabidi. And then there's also that thing of, you know what, I have to show this guy, and then it will be $10, $20, whatever, for building fund, have this, mchango, whatever. But they do that to you. Expect that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So and Wanjeri here says our local church has a bad habit of organizing Harambee, then printing my name as a guest of honor without even courtesy to ask. So it seems like this is an actual tactic.
No, it is.
Wow. Okay.
It is.
This is new to me.
It just happened recently.
Yeah.
That I know someone in my family, somebody
Yeah.
They were sent. The career offspring was made a guest of honor.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, Wanjeri also says, I refuse to pay for university and college. Take a help loan and learn how to adult. Hey, watu hapa leo.
Let me tell you, and I'll
yeah.
speak. And I suffered an experience with a relative. Nairobi University. Tuna struggle kusomesha. Tuna struggle. So we are working, we are combining forces. And this guy decided not to maliza.
Aka skip college.
Because it was 70,000 a term.
Yeah. And then
70,000.
Yeah.
So we are combining, because everybody who is doing this, don't forget, we are here.
Yeah.
You know, like what, was it Louis C. Muya, where he was saying, where he was, anaitishwa pesa za Christmas, lakini yako kazi krisi. Kutafuta hizo hela. So hata sisi tunatafuta hela, tunajaribu kutafuta hela, tunajaribu kusakanya, we're working overtime, tunajinyima, like, you know what, in about 3-4 months, some money, you know, we have to pay. And I think one of the mistakes that I think what we did, because, you know, I think we were not paying direct, we were paying so that he can go. Paying him aende.
Oh, mnampa. Okay, but at least nowadays there's...
I said,
yeah,
never ever again.
Okay.
Yes.
Haya.
So,
Wanjeri anasema...
hiyo pesa yenu ya church ilitengeneza church ama ilifund trip ya mtu kusoma bani?
I don't know. I'm talking about helping somebody to go to university.
To go to university. Okay.
Yeah.
Haya. Washeke anasema the same person you educate until college gets married and has kids and still expects that you continue supporting them. So...
But I'm sorry. No. Hold on.
Dependence.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Even us as kids, we do that to our parents.
We do that to our parents as in like...
tunasomeshwa.
Yeah.
Right? Mpaka kole. Tunaenda. Tunapata bibi na watoto. Bado tunaitisha mama na baba unga.
Yeah.
It's there, boss.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let us agree.
That's a problem. Yes, it's still there.
Yes.
And then Wanjeri pia nasema, Ali, thanks to you, I stopped contributing to pre-weddings. Asante sana Wanjeri. I am going to recruit more people. In this, do not contribute to pre-wedding.
Pre-wedding imeleta
yes. Oh, yes.
Wacha alete shida yake yote.
One person at a time. Hata kama ni years. One person at a time. Then I have Washeke here says, I'm a poor couple with one child. You take over fees of the child, and before you know it, then give birth to another one, expecting your financial support. So yeah, and then I see Afro-Jamaican is tuned in. Afro-Jamaican says, I just looked through my M-Pesa and damn, and I don't have no family in Kenya. So Afro-Jamaica has also been
character developed.
He's also in the loop.
Yes.
He's also in the loop. Because I challenge people. Check the app that you used to send money. Check the app you used to send money. It will shock you how much money you're sending back home. Stephen JJ hapo anacheka about pre-wedding. I think that means he's also been recruited in that no pre-wedding group. And then yeah, and then before we're gonna be talking about remember later on in the show
yes
we're gonna be talking about Davido. Remember, Davido is suing K24 for publishing a story that he was arrested, which was an
but
April
wasn't
Fool's
that a profuse?
So that's what we're going to be discussing. You know, like how far is media allowed to go on April Fool's?
One mic.
Yeah.
One mic. Yes, it is April Fool's. There is a fool. There's a fool somewhere.
Okay. Sawa. You want to stay tuned? We're going to talk about that later on in the show. I think I've also recruited Washeke, but I think Washeke was already recruited into that pre-wedding group.
That's fine.
One person at a time. Kwanza, I'm so proud of recruiting Wanjeri.
Like the extreme MAGA Republicans.
Because she is from Boston, and Boston is ground zero for pre-weddings in the United States. That's where they collect 70,000-80,000 from the community for a pre-wedding. When that money would go for other productive.
The pre-wedding is for the wedding. Yes.
Yeah. But
Not
they
for the pre-wedding. It's for
no,
the
they
wedding.
collect. It's for the wedding.
Yes.
But they collect
The
that
pre-wedding
money.
is for the wedding. Yeah.
We know what happens.
Yes.
It goes to pay.
Why do you
down
why
payment
do you
over
want to
how-
do a wedding? Why do you want to do a wedding what hiyo pesa yote?
Hapana, hiyo pesa unaenda kulipa down payment ya nyumba na inanunua gari. But we're
No,
gonna talk about that another day.
najua hiyo.
Yeah.
Najua hiyo, but me when somebody says they're doing a pre-wedding for the wedding, how much do they want to spend on the wedding? How much will the wedding be?
No, nasema people can spend whatever amount they want on their weddings as long as pesa inatoka mfukoni mwako ama from your small circle.
Wewe, how much would you spend on a wedding?
Hiyo itaanzisha topic that we will not be able to finish, Mika. Wacha tuweke hiyo pembeni, tutarudi kuongea juu ya
Sawa.
mambo ya pre-wedding. And then let me see, Njagi anasema pre-wedding I'm out, bibi ni wako si wetu. So I'm recruiting one person at a time, no pre-weddings. But anyway, and then Wanjeri anasema after pre-wedding you're invited for baby shower. Never stops. Anyway, those are topics for
Mupende musipende.
for another day.
Utaitwa.
Okay.
Kaende.
And then Afro-Jamaican says if you can't afford the wedding, you can't afford to get married. How about that? That's a comment that should be framed, and be, and live forever. And then Stephen JJ anasema tulichanga pre-wedding 100K back in 2010. Wedding didn't even last a year. Okay, so I think this means hii mambo ya pre-wedding, people are getting so passionate about it because I think imekula pesa ya watu. We need to have another week to discuss this. the pros and cons of pre-wedding. And of course,
Mimi I think pia I think like ile ikikuwa tu normal imekataa. Itatafuta tu mdemo ni mwambefanya hivi.
Okay.
Acha tupange pre-wedding, tugawane nusu. Tujifanye tumewana pwani.
All right. So so before to endelee, I want to introduce another person who just checked into the studio before we get on to our next point. And I want you guys to contemplate this. We're going to be talking about the trends of dependency over time, because on our audience here we have people who've been in the US for 40 years, 35 years, 30 years.
Omosh is not here, bro.
Yeah, Omosh is not here today, but we want to know the trends, what has changed over the years in as far as money that is being paid out to people. But without much further ado, let me welcome our other guest host in studio.
And the spotlight is on her.
Karibu sana.
Asante. Hello, everyone.
Okay,
So,
Pablo,
let me say.
Oh, Zengu is about to crash the car.
Let me say.
Leko karibu kutuma 50% ya mishahara.
I came with 100%, because it's the season of cowboy hats.
Cowboy hats.
Cowboy cutter.
Now
hats.
you have a
But-
you have a hat, but do you have a cow? That's
Yes,
the
I
question.
do.
Or is it all hat but no cattle? Ruth,
I have cows.
karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Yeah.
But
Do
like
you have a
I thought
you
I
have a
thought I
boy?
would be able to rock this and wear my headphones, but it is so not working. So I need to rework my
Okay.
look.
Okay.
But like I'm so happy to be in the studio today. Glad to see you guys. It's been a while. I left work late. So this is not. I did call in ahead of
Okay.
time to say I'll be running late today.
Okay.
But yeah.
So you know she was coming, but you didn't say.
Hiyo tuongea nyuma ya tent. Nyuma ya tent. Yeah.
Okay, but hi everyone. This are good. I love
Angalia,
this. I love this.
Pablo had not commented on this topic. This topic had no resonance to him. But vile memona Ruth, Pablo ameingia. Pablo is in the building.
And
I
also
didn't even
not-
know Pablo was watching.
Me, I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Si alijichucha kwa group.
Yeah?
Then he says he was removed.
Okay. But anyway,
Jama is hallucinating.
nyuma ya tent. Story.
Nyuma ya tent,
I said
nyuma ya
in a
tent.
Pablo. I said in a Pablo.
Yeah.
Okay, sawa.
Nyuma ya tent.
Let me fix my situation over here.
Okay.
I'll be joining.
So, as you fix your situation, Ruth, think about what's the most ridiculous request you've ever gotten from Kenya, from a relative, a friend. Just think. Ama, it seems like it's already
I
there.
have a traumatizing experience.
Okay, what happened to you?
So let me say, I don't want to say, I'm gonna hold it for now for as I, because this is a story. I when you told me this was a topic, I was like,
Yeah.
I know somebody.
Okay.
So this is a story. I guess this is a storytelling for today. I'm blessed to have a family that really, for the most part, this is like, I only help when it's needed. So it's not like entitlement. But a friend of mine calls me up. I was in Kenya. The first thing she tells me, oh my word, umechukua simu yangu leo, utanipata 20,000. Even ndio tulianza. Nikamwambia sina pesa. Ambia wezi sema una pesa, Ruth? Nikamwambia sina pesa. And then tells me a very sob story, which verifiably was true. And I say, okay, I can help in the interim, but it cannot be the plan. So I need Alba to look for a long-term plan. Okay, she is in business.
Okay.
Akaniambia yeye anapenda fanya biashara. Nikamwambia hii climate venye kuko si climate ya biashara. Alba nikusaidia kupata job. And then I did get her a job, a really good job. No. It might not be a really good job, but the person was going to pay her more than is a going rate.
Okay.
30K a month.
Okay.
Way more than it's a going rate for what we had talked about.
Okay.
I told her, you have kids, you're calling me, I'm Jakula, awako shule, you want to take them to particular schools, by the way, public schools, but particular public schools.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have the money. How about fanya kazi hapa? You don't have to stay here. It's a job. If I was down on my luck, I would do this job. So I needed to know, it's not like it's something that I wouldn't do personally.
Mm-hmm.
And she literally calls and we're talking, she's like, "Ai, Ruth, mimi ni mtu wa biashara. Wacha nipati tu kapito ya biashara. Sina pesa. Lakini this person will pay you this amount of money."
Mm-hmm.
Wacha nifikirie. Goes to think about it. Comes back and tells me, mimi nilisema nitaamini Mungu anipatie biashara, pesa za biashara.
Wow. Okay.
Cool. Now the entitlement and the demand started. So I came back, and every software should be like, atujakula, sijui nini mfanyika. And I need you to know, I know these things are true. But over 6 months, I'll be like, okay, nitamtumia 50, nitamtumia 30, like just because I don't want it to be a thing amezoea. Kumbuka, I'm also very salty that I go to a job and you turn it down, and the person who's going to pay you way more than actually that job is paid for in Kenya. I talk to the person like, hey, they work for UN, so they are going to give the person part of their allowance they have to have people work. And then I had surgery 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And she calls, unaendeleaje? Because I knew of the spill. At this point, I come to, like, how it happens. Call, check in on me one day, 2 days go by. Oh, by the way, this is what's happening. So calls me.
So Anna call checking on you so that she can check the box.
Nimecheck box. That's why I knew it was a game.
Yeah.
Then she calls. So she calls and siko poa. Actually, that was an emergency surgery. So I know she called me like I was in the hospital at the time. Then I went home. And then she'll check in, and then she disappeared for like 3 weeks. Then she came like, ulipona. And then I'm in recovery, nimerudi kazi. This is 3 weeks later, nimerudi kazi. Oh, okay, pole nakuambia usikie vizuri. Then a week after that phone call, she sends me the school fees structure of the kid to a school. When we talked about, you can't afford this. If you're gonna rely on business and kuna pesa zinakuja, ujaniambia kuna biashara nafanya so far. How about umpeleke the day school?
Yeah,
right.
Cheaper school.
Something you can afford. Alipeleka boarding school. She sends me the fee structure. Akanambia mtoto ajaenda shule. Huyo ni mtoto wa kwanza. And then right after, akanitumia picha za mtoto kwa hospitali.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. I literally remember since that day, I was so livid. My reaction wasn't even to happen. I was like so livid because all along you just been checking to see the moment nilikwambia niko sawa nimerudi kazi.
Yeah. She was ready.
The next week, it wasn't even it was just like, this is what's happening to me.
Yeah.
Nitumia hata kama ni 10,000. Literally, she even had a number.
Even before your first paycheck had hit your bank account after you got back to work.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, nitumia hata kama ni 10,000 nitumia to like, niko pabaya. I've never responded to that message. It's been almost 2 years going now. Blue ticks. I have no mercy anymore.
Unfortunately, this dependency, unfortunately, is now starting to destroy relationships, because we're at a point now where we understand that we are being taken advantage of, not by everyone, but by certain people. But it's unfortunately destroying familial bonds. And I think, just generally what we're going to be talking about today is how to navigate this without destroying familial bonds. Now, the other thing here that we want to talk about is, of course, we've already gone through the fact that Kenyans send between 20 to 30% of their gross income on remittances, which is a very high amount. So over the last 30 years, Mike, from when you got here in the late 90s, or maybe early 2000s, what is it that has changed in as far as what kind of money we are sending back home, or why we are sending money back home? What in your opinion has changed over time? What are you seeing now that you are not necessarily seeing then when you are still fresh?
I think I'm going to say funerals.
Okay.
And
by funerals, you mean sending money to Kenya for funerals?
Yeah,
or?
for death.
Okay.
Because it wasn't that much, but also at that point in time, because the longer you stay here, even we're growing older.
Yeah.
So you're seeing a lot of your peers, their parents.
And I guess,
wananza,
because I guess the numbers of people too.
The numbers of people has increased, but are you talking about here versus?
No,
in
I'm
Kenya?
talking about diaspora remittances. Just the trends. Money is being sent back home.
Yeah, but you see, So there's a lot of so we are more here, but also over there at a certain age, as we grow older, we're experiencing, sometimes there are some guys who are older than us.
Yeah.
You start hearing there are people that they went to school with or whatever have died.
Okay.
So you're hearing that. Then our parents, we are hearing there. Our uncles, they're all that same age.
Yeah.
Unaanza kusikia hivyo. There's also an issue of health.
Okay.
You're contributing more to health. But this is as you grow older, maybe cancer. Because cancer has gone up.
Yeah. Cancer has
gone up. That ideally is taking. At one point we were thinking, even the AIDS thing, HIV, viral load, whatever, kuna dawa, it's controlled and managed. But cancer is really on the uptick.
Also dialysis,
kidney, whatever, kidney problems, dialysis, ni mob sana. People going to India, right? So, and I think I recall at one point in time that there has been a change, even like now, for example, like diet has really, really changed.
Yes.
In Kenya.
Diet has really changed in Kenya.
From when we were kids to now.
Even when
a lot.
Yeah, even just going back as recently as 20 years ago.
Yes.
When I left Kenya, things like food, I vividly remember vitu kama noodles. Those are things I came to see for the first time
here
in the US.
Yeah, there.
But those things are now there in Kenya.
Uko wimpi kupeleka dem ka Ruth unampeleka wimpi sawe ni sonko. Wimpy.
And that was a rare thing.
That was a rare thing. Now,
a normal
so
thing.
wachana na kina Trattoria, Wimpy. But
Yeah.
now, Galitos, pizzerias, nini, whatever.
Yeah.
There's a lot of so there has been...
so there's a lot of diet-related
a lot.
diseases.
A lot.
Okay.
And you see that diabetes, what, and it's so you're sending money for that.
Yeah.
More people got kids.
Yeah.
Kids, many kids. So education, there's also part of education, because look at the madhogodhanio going on with the CBC, the education system in Kenya. Sijui TVET, there's no money.
Yeah.
They're saying that they can only send, instead of for 74,000, they can only send 47 because there are too many kids. You're like, you guys didn't plan, you knew this was going on.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, I mean,
so
I think,
there's a lot of, yeah,
I think over the time, over that time period, like what, like I've personally noticed, and I don't know that maybe this is tied to the economy, because when I was coming here for the first time in 2003, Kibaki had just won. Like we were fresh from a Kibaki win, and the economy was on an uptick.
Yeah.
Like people were actually looking, people who are here were actually looking
To move
towards
back.
going back.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so amazing that that we've taken a whole 360, and right now we have a president who's actively encouraging
360 or
people
180.
to leave the country. 180. Yeah,
But-
he's
but-
actively encouraging people to leave the country. At that time, Kibaki would come here and actually tell people, professionals, to come back home. The economy is growing, and build the economy.
Us, we
So-
left because there was nothing to look forward to.
So-
Because we left when M1 was still president.
So M1 was still president. Like there was a group that left in the 90s when the economy,
It was Madhogs.
when the economy was hurting.
Yes.
Like I personally, like did spend some time, like in St. Mary's IB, in University of Nairobi.
Group of
so I came here. I had a chance to spend some time in Kenya outside of
outside of
high school.
Outside of high school.
Outside of high school, which gives you another three-dimensional perspective. Because remember, when most of us were in boarding schools, we were basically locked up there. There was no social media. There was nothing.
None.
You don't know what's going on outside the world.
No.
Your world circulates around whatever is going on in school. If there's a funky in this other school.
Yeah.
So to me, I guess, like what started happening is that like then money was for emergencies, like things that you really need, like it wasn't even necessarily for education at the primary. It was for maybe higher education. That's where money zilikuwa zikichangwa. But over time, I started noticing, like a change, in things that people, as the economy started deteriorating, now people would start asking for money for more basic things, for subsistence.
Yes.
Kulipa rent, like kununulia watoto chakula.
Yeah.
Like that's something that started changing over time. And even part of the reason why the remittances have increased so much compared to where they were back then, it could be a factor of, more people are coming, but it also could be a factor of there are more people who are self-dependent, but now have become fully dependent on people in the diaspora, which is why sometimes I try to have some empathy, because we also have an economy that has turned upside down. Unemployment levels are very high, and the people that I sometimes feel very bad for are people who can no longer afford to live in the neighborhoods where their parents raised them in. Especially those of us who are raised in the city, this is a very big issue for us. Like where maybe you're raised in South Sea, you're raised in Nairobi West, but because of the way the economy has taken a U-turn, you can no longer afford to live in that neighborhood. So there's a stigma of moving from Nairobi West to Kayole. There's a stigma, like it's easy for us to sit here.
No, it's the
and
same.
say,
Like that would happen everywhere. If I were to move southeast leo, mtanuliza Ruth linaendelea, right?
It's Ruth. It's easier over here because
I'll just stop talking to you.
in the US, people really don't. People are not so much into others' business, but back home,
It's a big deal.
especially a city like Nairobi, it's
Keeping
a
up
small
with the
place. Watu
Joneses.
wanajuana.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, watu wanaanza
Yeah.
kusema huyu Sindule alikuwa akijifanya hapa, alikuwa anaishi wapi
Lakini
somewhere.
pia-
So it affects people.
Pia, me calling out
Yeah.
the Kenyan culture, they'll kind of like classism, like, and just people feeling like I live in this particular neighborhood and sizi shikika,
Yeah.
and not knowing that tomorrow is never promised. I think there is a culture in Kenya that you have to be radical not to pay attention to it, because what will people say is a thing.
It's a big deal.
Is a thing,
It's a big deal.
right?
Yeah.
So you literally have to be radical to not have that bother you. So I hear you. There's that part. There's, I think, depending on what side of who is asking for money, what I've seen trends on is people asking for a lot money that, to me, I'm like, it is not that serious, you know. Or people not knowing how to navigate. Life has hit you, and probably you need to downsize. I remember somebody calling me, and they were like, "Nyumba imefungwa, but I just want to pay the arrears, at least nipate zile vitu ziko kwa nyumba." And my thing was like, why don't you sell those things and pay the arrears, and just like you could, because me I've started over twice in this US, right? Like zero, like that is done. Naenda kunwa furniture, everything, right? Like DC, I moved here like 3-4 years ago. That was zero scratch, like started right?
afresh.
Yeah, I started afresh, right? And so when you turn to somebody, things happen, and sometimes you might need to kind of reinvent yourself somewhere else.
But let me ask you, Ruth, have you ever started from scratch in Kenya?
But then that's what I wanted to say. You know, the
No.
thing is,
No.
you know,
That's what I'm saying.
No,
the
I've
thing- the thing is-
I've never. Can I
it's
say
not-
something though? I've never, but I don't understand when you're trying to save material things. See, VT ama anything is like,
So-
saki kuuza TV, saki kuuza gas cooker, saki kuuza.
understand.
I'm like,
Okay, so that's what we're telling.
Mika. Yeah.
We're trying
okay,
to
someone
you
tell
that.
me, because maybe I was like, listen,
So-
sometimes to eat reset, some things have to go. We're not
Okay,
saving
let-
those
The
things.
thing,
Let
so
let
Ruth,
Mika talk.
Okay.
that's so this is the thing.
Yeah.
And you see the way right now, if you say you're selling your TV, you're selling stuff from your house, right? And the amount of money you're going to get compared to when somebody is in there and it. Because first of all, even if you're saying you want to sell them to Nene, if your landlord has given you has arrears, let's say they've locked the house because of the arrears of what you have in rent, they know that even if they took your stuff to auction, they're not going to get back their money. It's not going to give them enough money as to what you owe them. Even when you try to, and then the thing is, there's that guarantee if they locked up, if they gave you, because they've locked you out of the house, they don't want you to take your stuff and move. Nobody's going to give you access to go sell those stuff again. That is why they will ask for money to watch nifikishe to arrears, at least nitoe vitu zangu kwa nyumba. So there is, if a landlord locks the house for you, and then in Kenya it's not like here at TCP, there are laws that protect the tenant. A landlord cannot lock the door on you, cannot cut the electricity as it were. Kenya, those laws don't exist. Uko, it's you don't pay rent, somebody puts a padlock in your house, tells you nope, and you mkienda koti atapata nini auction, they will auction you, take your stuff, and if it's still not enough, you still owe them.
Yeah.
So I get
So
that.
starting
Can
from
Okay, Ruth.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
What
get
have to say,
that,
Ruth, yeah.
and I like being checked, because there is a part like I don't understand.
Before you say, I just want to recognize Maura Moroki agrees with Ali and also agrees with Mika. I think I read that comment late, but Maura, in what exactly are you agreeing with both of these gentlemen? Ruth.
Okay.
pre-wedding.
Oh.
Hi, Ruth.
Oh, I think this was my thing, because we were trying to strategize this part, and I said, and at the time, they were actually looking if I could help them pay their arrears, right? I did help. I didn't have all the money, but I did help. But I think I was trying to say, okay, ndio utapata vitu utazipeleka wapi?
Now, I think the thing is I think the experience of being at the bottom in Kenya
Yeah.
It's
is
totally different from when
being at the bottom.
Totally different from,
But let me say something here. Because I like I always say, I mean, APA people like making fun of me, group of schools. lakini me I'll always admit I did not come from a poor background. So I'll tell you guys something here. When you come from such a background where you had, and then me, my first struggle has been in the US. Me, Kenya, you know, like I'm so proud of my family, of my mother. I never struggled, not even one day. My first struggle was here in the US. And I'll tell you something, when you come now talking about people who grew up in certain nicer middle class neighborhoods, kina South Sea, Nini, or even, you know, like richer neighborhoods, it's much more difficult, you know, like now when this is what this is the minimum that your parents gave you, and then now you're in a position, because let me tell you, when you come from that background, one thing that you don't know how to do, because even me, I've hit rock bottom here in the US. One thing when you hit rock bottom that you don't know how to do when you come from such a background is you don't know how to ask, because you never came from a place where asking was a thing or it was even an option. So sometimes you have very close friends who can assist you, they can help you, but you don't have the skill, you don't know how to do it. You know, like if you've come from, you know, like a more modest background, maybe you've experienced, you know, your parents calling someone asking for assistance, so there's some exposure you have to that. So now when the economy has turned upside down, and then you have this group of people, especially this very sensitive age, you know, like where you're over 35, you know, you're over 40, you know, it's a very sensitive age, because this is the age where now the people who are starting to prosper, you can see them wameenda. And then sasa wewe, you're at that point asking yourself, is this gonna be me for the rest of my life? Because miaka inaenda, and these people, the gap is going bigger. You know, when you're broke in your 20s, mko wengi, mneza enda base, mkakaa pamoja, you know, like kama ni jaba, ama kama ni whatever other substances you're using, and you forget things. But now when you're at a certain age, there's family, there's other people who are looking up to you. You're educated in good schools. You know, like, what is you? So psychologically, that is very, very different.
But also remember.
And then a couple of comments here, we don't mind, and then we're going to read the comments.
But also remember,
even
though, Kwanza, it's even worse, I believe, for those people who are in South C, South B, Nairobi West. If shit hits the fan for them.
Yes.
It's even worse.
Like, it's worse.
Because it's over there. Over there. And it's for you here, because even me when I came, I was 19. I knew nothing. Jobo, I never sleeping hungry. What? Taking the bus, walking an hour to get a bus, walking an hour from the bus. You have to, or sometimes walking for 2 hours. I never did that.
Struggle abroad.
I have struggled here.
Yeah, that's right.
I have struggled here. But you can say it is easier. You can say that, you know what, you can still do it, because guess what? You can learn about a soup kitchen. You can learn about, you know, you can learn about welfare.
And there's no stigma over here.
There's no stigma.
Because no one cares.
No one cares.
No one cares.
But over there, it is hard. But I've never been in Kenya to say that I'm starting from the bottom.
I am Mika real quick, and then to some comments.
No. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, because Adami nikikwambia kitu struggle ni kitu nime experience outside of Kenya, and actually struggle ni kitu nime experience here, right? When you're coming that first time, you're landing on your feet, you're trying to figure out yourself. The times where you're going up and down, there was a time whereby nilikuwa Bank of America wakachoka na sisi wakatufuta tu job from nowhere, boom. So before you get another job, unaweza kujiuliza nilikuja kufanya nini huko, sinile pale nilikuwa. Now these are things you start to do, but the thing about this country is that you can pivot so many ways and you can start all over again.
Okay,
Kenya ukilose job kama wewe mulikuwa manager wa bank.
Ni kubaya. Let's read some comments, and then we're gonna come to the conversation. I'm gonna start with Gladys. Gladys, karibu sana to the one show.
What?
Gladys Sanga. Gladys says, my uncle called me asking for 700K for his broiler breed biashara. He promised to pay me back. I told him to get a loan. He got upset with me, telling me he was my mother, in quotes. I refused to assist him. He couldn't account for his profit and losses. I didn't want to get involved. he has refused to pick up my calls, and so be it. So these are the transactional relationships that we're talking about. And then Stephen JJ says, now we have MO2. Bure kabisa, I think MO2 is referring to Ruto.
Imepita watu wengi hiyo.
Yeah, imepita
Oh,
watu
really?
wengi.
What does
I don't
MO2
think
mean?
so.
Yeah, no,
What is MO2?
MO2.
No.
Yeah.
Watu wajibu hiyo.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Trivia. Who is MO2? Yeah, trivia on the comment section. Wanjeri hapa anasema things got worse under Zakayo, where food at one point was quite high and you have to chip in.
Disagree.
And then I have here Stephen Batty saying, man, this subject, wacha tu, I have to deal with difficult stuff, especially with older people who I have known for a while. Now, this is another big issue that's now becoming an issue because of the age of our parents.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's becoming a real issue.
It is a real issue.
Yeah, it's becoming and it's becoming realer by
because
the day.
our parents
Yeah.
are in their 70s.
Yes, they can no
Ujue
longer
hivyo.
work. Yes, okay. And then we have Washeke here saying Kenyan affordability has gone down and public services like education and healthcare are run down. Many of us
Gone
went
down or gone up?
many of us went to public schools that are equivalent of group of schools. Those same schools are now overcrowded and dilapidated, which is very true, because I remember Zamani people like going to, like all these public schools were competing with private schools. And then Washeke says America is the home of second 20, 100 chances. And then Indefatigable Wanjeri says MO2 must be Zakayo. So I think Indefatigable amepata hapo. Ruth, you were saying something before we started reading the comments.
Oh, and there's some YouTube comments before.
Oh, read them,
yes.
read them.
Please go ahead and read the YouTube comments.
YouTube, there is Usiwaze.
Usiwaze, that's Chief Louis.
Usiwaze?
Yeah, that's Chief Louis.
Ile kuambia ati your cup will never be empty. Mungu atakuongezea is a scam. Petite girl, our parents did the best to bring us here. So we struggle to do our best. So we start from the bottom.
Yeah,
Petite girl.
Petite girl, asante
Usiwaze.
sana.
Ati ile kuambia ati your cup will never be empty.
Yeah, it's a scam.
Those are biblical rules. But they use the religion to swipe us.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so I think I'm just talking generally here. Yes, Mika.
You go ahead, sorry.
I believe there is a part where black tax is needed, right? Because we do not have generational wealth. But I also do want to believe that there's a part that then the buck stops with us, right? We cannot leave this behind for our children. And it's just kind of finding that balance and deciding where you can help and where you cannot help. What is important to you. Mimi nimesema I was listening when I was driving here. The things I've said, don't call me for that, and actually I'll just like bypass. Stories za kanisa inajengwa sijui nini.
Building fund building
nini. The only
But even in the
though,
black community, they've had a building fund for the last 20 years.
True.
Black churches.
The only thing that
churches, yeah.
I will support church, and if I'm gonna support a church project, it's for this reason. Is it the community center for people?
Okay.
Right?
100%.
If it's
Right?
for the benefit of the
yeah,
people.
because I know some of these churches that they tend to have things. The problem is you're gonna have to be a member for the most part. That's the sad part. And probably utaenda kwa sababu unajua watu kama wewe ni member, but people go to church there. But if it's in that community, that's the center of beacon for people, I don't mind contributing towards that.
Catholic churches, I will.
Right? Then the other pre-weddings.
Hapo na hurt feelings za uno Mike.
No,
hurting me,
no.
but
Ukisema pre-weddings, ukikata kutoa za pre-weddings.
No, that's fine. You don't have to. It's a
I
choice.
do contribute to pre-weddings if you're my friend, but that is your wedding gift. You know what I mean?
I get that.
Yeah.
No, I get that.
Yeah, that is your wedding gift.
Yeah.
Because I do believe in, party ni yako. You can invite people. Me, I'm so down to having a backyard barbecue for my wedding, right?
Or even going to the to the what is it called
the courthouse.
Yeah.
The courthouse.
Yeah, in Kenya mtu anaenda kwa AG.
Yeah,
Me may believe in just doing a simple wedding, and I would rather throw my money on the honeymoon. Tukatengeneze memories. Tukuje tuwaze maisha kati tumefurahia. Like basically, I do not believe in an expensive, big, huge wedding. For what? Watu ni michele tu wanataka wakuja ni wapikie wakule kwangu tuende huko. I feel that first of all, more money should be saved towards the marriage than the wedding day.
Okay.
And the wedding.
Yeah.
And then also, I believe a honeymoon is something that both of you will enjoy more than your wedding day. Because wedding day ni nyuko tu mmekaa hapo mbele mko stress mnaangalia hivi hakuna kitu mnaenjoy. Honeymoon is about you too.
Hii topic ya pre-wedding, we need to spare
another time for that,
because I think like it's another one. If there was a Sendwave version that could show how much money people have sent for pre-weddings, then that would become like a big thing. And now people are contributing to pre-weddings in Kenya too, because squeezy, you don't even have to be there physically. Unatumiwa tu like M-Pesa number or whatever number, tuma pesa hapa kwisha, whether you're gonna be there or not. Iyo ni shauri yako. So it's become that unpersonal. Ruth,
what about chamas?
Well,
have you ever found yourself in chamas?
Now with chamas, I think those are more popular with women, and
I know with men too.
I think they're more with women.
They're more with women.
Sijakata, but I know men who have chamas.
Women niko kwa chama tatu.
Okay.
Yeah.
But those ones are like self-help.
But those are self-help. Those have they have some benefit.
Oh,
I'm
no.
thinking, yeah.
No.
Those have some
no,
benefits.
You guys can say you don't know.
What kind of chamas?
I don't know.
What kind of chamas are you talking about?
Zile zenye mimi niko ndani ziko na benefit, Ruth. Like the chama, it's basically just we see you throw money and then somebody, like there's a way how you throw the money, what you're doing with that money. So
of course there's always that.
I'm in one whereby
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I even got into this one, but I'm in one whereby this one, the money, when you withdraw your money, when you're given your money, you're not given money. You say what you want.
Yeah.
Then they buy it for you.
Inanunuliwa. So
Okay.
it's people use it for buying.
Things.
Yeah.
For making huge
investments or things like that.
Then the rest that I mean, ni merry-go-round.
Okay.
Ninakula chama siku fulani na siku fulani. So it's basically just a way of saving money. Like
True.
I know,
Okay.
But
I'm planning to save a certain amount of money. That's how I look at them.
Okay.
Ruth.
And what I was trying to say, Mick, I think you did touch on what some of the chamas, one nimezitoka. I couldn't deal with that. Nimebakilia ya family peke yake. So the chamas, me, I never used to send money for chamas at kitambo until like not the last 2 years nimezitoka. I couldn't deal with that pressure. Before that, it was like there was, of course, the family chama. This is like extended family, and then there were if you want to maybe buy land or whatever. So this chama will be like, as Mika said, there's a benefit at the end of the day. So that is unasema unataka kununua nini, and that money will be used either for the deposit or to buy that thing that you want. The other was kwenda trips for vacation.
That doesn't sound like bad.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
What's
But
the
this is what I
problem with
mean. No, for me,
That's good on paper.
thank you very much.
That
No,
is
see,
good.
that.
And I'll
It's
tell you.
not bad.
No, I'll tell you why
But-
it's good on paper.
But number one, kumbuka, black taxes, money you have to send. So like being beholden to like you have to send this money this particular time. And it's like me, I found myself sometimes I'm like, how did I get in this one?
But if you agreed, and those are the terms
Well,
for you to enter the
because
chama,
sijakata
come and enter
niliingia,
trip, bas.
sijakata
Because
niliingia
it look good on paper.
because yeah.
Maybe no, ani wacha nikwambie, imagine say ya trip, si ndio?
Yeah.
Ya trip tuseme December, so tunaenda Kenya, tuseme unajua nini? Tuende Zanzibar siku fulani. Haya, hii Zanzibar tunaleta nani na nani? Tupigie hesabu, tuseme tuweke chama, tutakuwa tunatoa do by siku fulani ibukio trip. Hiyo si mbaya bana.
hiyo si mbaya.
It's not bad. It's Dakata is
Bad
not
idea.
bad.
Me, I'll say why. Bad idea. and I will say why.
Okay, tell me.
He's
tell
one.
me
Of,
your meaning.
he's one of the guys who pulls out last minute.
No, but I'm the one guy who will pull out first minute.
First minute of what? Of
First minute of the idea showing up. I will pull out. And
Why?
And here's why.
Yes.
Whenever you there's certain needs that you constantly have. For example, like housing. Housing is a need that you'll constantly have. So if you're getting into a chama so that you can save down payment to buy a home, or you can get money to buy a home so that you can pay slowly, that makes sense. Now the problem is issues kama trips. What tends to happen when there are chamas for such things, so on paper it looks good because you're like, oh, trip flani mi nilienda, you know, I spent X amount. So what tends to happen when these chamas pop up, you now start getting trips that you would have naturally not taken. You know, once umeenda Zanzibar, unaenjoy, unaona, mbona nisiende Mauritius? Next. Ukishaenda Mauritius, mbona nisiende Ushelisheli? You know, ukishaenda Ushelisheli, mbona nisiende Cape Town? And these things, they grow pole pole. So to me, things like luxury goods, like trips, I always say pay for what you can afford. And then now once you have those groups, so Zanzibar, labda, you know, like if you had paid with what you can afford, maybe you would have stayed in a modest place, you know, that would cost you maybe $40-50 a night. But because kuna hii group, and groups could appear pressure, then people start talking about those very expensive hotels, uko Nungwe, na sijui wapi. That's what tends to happen over time. And here's another thing. Everybody has everyone has their weakness. Kuna mtu weakness yake ni viatu, kuna mtu weakness yake maybe ni your traveling. Everybody has their weakness where they tend to overindulge than the normal person. So you decide on your weakness and don't jump on a bandwagon of other people. Sa kama nikijump kwa bandwagon ya Wanjeri, mtu ana travel sijui to some parts of the world where no Kenyan has ever been to. You know, you see him climbing mountains huko, anakutana na wale these humans, these people who've never had contact with humans. Those are the places he's traveling to. And then sasa wewe hobby yako si traveling, and then unataka kushindana na Wanjeri.
No, can I read Wanjeri's comment?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Wanjeri, you literally captured why I thought that was a scam to me. This group trips start to become a pressure cooker for measuring people's capabilities and madness.
Oh, absolutely.
So it gets to a point.
Ngoja Ruth amalize.
I don't mind if we say we will, you know, tutengia group cement near travel group, it is one trip that we all agree to do, and I don't mind if that trip is a luxury trip. Like, I do not mind if it's a one thing that we do. But it's a chama that would make a travel group, so it's like every year lazima tuende mahali, na sababu kwa chama lazima uende, lazima contribute. Like, it's the pressure. It's a pressure. You already have pressure for your day-to-day life. Things do come up that a trip is no longer important at this point, but because you already sign up, you're told you have to contribute, you have to go. Like, there's the pressure to them that for me I was like, I if I do want to travel the world, lakini ndeni peke yenu tafadhali.
Yeah.
Actually,
Wait, this is
so what does niwaambie vile kitu inafanywa, unaona? Usiseme travel group vile Wanjeri amesema sijui zenye watu create mnaingiza tu kama 70 alafu mnashuka mpaka 20 no. Kama hiyo sijui. What I'm saying is that a group of like-minded people, right? Like me, niko na group yangu ya maboy ya Formula 1.
Oh yeah.
We like Formula 1, we race, we do everything. Like when we want to go for a trip, tunapiganga sabu, tunajania how much, and we make it happen.
And you
so
see,
mkikuwa group ya watu wenye mmesikizana, mko like-minded, mnajua kenye mnafanya ama nini. It's simple and very easy.
Yeah, and you see, it's good. You know, unaona hiyo group ya kinamika, me there was a time I was nilikuwa naona mazee sijui mara wameenda Italy, mara sijui wameenda sijui ni Mexico. Mi nilikuwa nawaangalia, I was like, that could be me.
Yeah.
But then, you know, like, because of my habit of pausing and kutafakari, I was like, am I really a Formula 1 fan?
Am I liquid pressure?
Am I really? I had a meeting with myself.
Yeah.
And asked myself, do I even watch Formula 1 when it's showing on TV. You know,
Yeah.
and me, I was looking, and nilikuwa naona hao majamaa wamevaa hizo majaz. I was like, hey, that right there, that could be me. But that's the
Unacheka
kind
kina
of
Alenda,
Allen Dab,
kina Mosodenyo, kina
yani serious people, serious travelers. Those are serious
akina
travelers.
Mikaochi
Kina
huko.
Mikaochi. So me, I'm like, apana, hapa nikiingia, this is gonna be problematic. Sasa unaona kama ni
And by the way, hata ukiulizwa-
to a trip ya Vegas.
ukiulizwa just name one racing group.
Mi-
Gari moja.
Racing group ubenda mbali. Mi hata kwa drivers, maybe I'll mention Michael Schumacher. I don't even know if he's dead or alive. And then this other black one, anaitwaje?
Saskia, sasa.
Andrew Hamilton. There's
Iti Andrew.
Aiti Andrew.
but unaelewa nimesema nani?
Anaitwa Lewis.
Oh, yeah, that's the one that I meant. But
At least I know
yeah.
there's Red Bull,
But me, at least I know there was a Hamilton.
there's
No.
Ferrari.
Yeah.
No, but unaona, mi point yangu is quite
Yeah.
simple. If you're doing a chama, whatever chama you're doing,
Yeah.
ikwe ya down payment and nini, it has to be a chama where all of you have like-minded and you both know that in chama tukiingia tuko comfortable, like before you even started, everybody has to be comfortable, you have to be like-minded na mnajua what the goal is, and that goal is only one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
simple as that. But if we open those chama that tufungue chama alafu tutafikiria
Where?
kitu ya kufanya,
Okay.
tufungue biashara leo, sijui tufanye nini, mtapigana.
Okay. A number of comments here
Literally.
coming. I'm gonna read a few and then I'm gonna let Ruth read the rest. You know, like but we're going back. Stephen Batty was saying, someone said, one time, always be respectful to your parents because when they pass, you will realize what they shielded you from, like this giving money and other issues. That is very true.
Yeah.
Washeke says, here your cup will always be full, is in the same WhatsApp group na mtoto huja na sahani yake. Hiyo ni swali ya
Oh
Bien.
my goodness,
Hiyo ni swali ya
yes.
Bien na Sauti Sol. And Sauti Sol was trending for different reasons this week in a focus group.
Yani-
But we're going to talk about that another day.
Oh my word.
yeah.
That was a good one.
That was a good one.
Washeke
Yeah.
says Kenyan churches mchango ni ya kununulia pasta V8.
There's
and
that.
then,
There's
There
that
is
too.
that.
Yes.
There's that.
There's that.
Bandio anasema hawa tunawaambia wa join our and PHU wanakataa, then wakifika wanaanza
Wakifa.
wakifa wanaanza kunitumia links za GoFundMe na kutumia screenshots ya conversation yetu. Bandio naye savage too. And then Stephen JJ is talking about merry-go-round. Washeke says, I think chamas were crucial when
Yeah.
women had no access to banking or investments. Yes, indeed. That's true. And then a high yield savings is better for saving for travel, for special occasions. So hizo zingine, Ruth, endelea kusoma from Stephen JJ.
Steven says, who will be holding the money? This is the the chama treasurer. We call them Kijumbe. Bula says that. And then Wanjeri says, those group trips start, it's sort of the one I'd read. They start becoming a pressure cooker for measuring people's capabilities and madness. Washeke says, Wanjeri, exactly, women are being caught up. And then we get to Steven. He's laughing. And then Wanjeri says, those group trips start having more rules like matching clothes. Oh my word, like matching
Yeah.
clothes.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you contribute to buy those things. Ama
Nyima
Ay,
demu
bwana.
wana shida basi.
it's a law. They can be
Hiyo ni mademu.
they can be too much.
Hiyo ni mademu.
And then the competition
Matching clothes.
among women.
Madem.
I refuse to join this group. So much pressure, matching outfits, and you cannot rewind those outfits. Not for me. That's true. By the way, it's a different outfit. Everything. When I tell you, I was like, in the lane, me, I'm fine.
Hizo group trips back in,
Mtaenda
the
peke
day,
yangu.
back in the day when
Ama
I used to participate in them, you know, kwanza zile za coed, ilifika point, you know, the chicks started almost fighting each other over something very simple of where to eat. You know, there are those who want to go eat
Pesa.
chakula ya raia, and then there are those who want to go eat Maruth and Chris and all that. So that became another pressure cooker.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized these trips here, definitely not for me.
Just say it's a throw.
Yeah.
And I normally say, if you have a group that mnaelewana, you know
I know, go-
your
it's
level
good.
of spending, 100% go for it. But I think, again, for me, when I started by saying what I've started seeing, the money I was sending back home, chamas became a thing. And and can I say there's the pressures of, I don't know how people like live with that. Ilikuwa every Friday ama every other Friday, like it's, and mimi niko na vitu vyangu nimesahau Friday ni siku ya pesa nakumbushwa like, oh, and then probably that day I marked that money for something else,
Yeah,
right? Because like,
kukumbusha.
oh my goodness. And so I remember I've been telling anybody who comes to me about Chama things in Kenya, that is, I'm like, can you please just open a high yield savings account? It is so much easier.
Okay.
But I think people want the accountability of like umepea watu pesa, so like it will come back to you at some point. There's that pressure. The social people rely on social pressure on chamas in terms of saving.
Okay.
More than the bank.
Yeah. And then Stephen JJ anasema chama every Friday.
Lazima itoke. Nilitoka.
Yeah. And then before we forget, hii issue ya like sending money back home. Do the different generations see this differently? You know, unfortunately, we don't have a net here. Or rather, let me not even necessarily say, I mean, the kids who are born in the US, do they look at this differently? You know, they don't have that emotional connection, you know, like with some of those things that we are sending for. Yes, they have, you know, they may even have a cousin back home, you know, like who has a child who has no school fees, but they don't have that emotional attachment that we do, you know. And you see, like even us, after staying here for a longer time, we are starting to slowly detach from that emotional connection that we once had, where we would just respond immediately.
The kids actually, if they were born here, they actually don't have, because their parents are shielding them.
Like we were shielded by our parents.
The parents
like
are shielding them.
Was saying. So then they don't know that.
They don't know that.
They don't pick that. And it's funny you say that. And I think we may be shielding, but they see what's going on.
Yeah.
And I've noticed, like with my nieces and my nephews, the way they behave, it's like they have to. And I'm even glad actually when we get Rehema here and
Annette?
No, Rehema, Annette. When we get them back over here, I'll ask them. You know, I'll ask them what their perception is, because we remember when we had Akina Rehema over here, and we asked them, like now things of land. They're like, why are you telling me when I'm 18? What am I supposed to do with that? Because they were never introduced to it, right? They were never nurtured into it.
Yeah.
So I think like the way our parents really protected us, and I think is it Stephen JJ who mentioned something about the way our parents protected us, even as we were protected.
Yes, we were very protected.
We were very protected.
Yeah.
Now we hit the ground running, but we stumble a lot. So for us coming here, that late 90s, early 2000s, it is baptism by fire. Proper character development.
Yes, proper.
Thorough.
Yeah.
There are people who stumbled and never got up.
Who never recovered.
Never ever recovered.
Yeah.
There are those who stumbled, got up. Now wakaendelea, but you adjust accordingly. Right? You adjust accordingly. But I think they may not know it, but the way they move, the way they navigate, they find their own way of doing what, or translating what they have learned from us. Let's say like now, for example, Michango, being part of groups or whatever, they find a way of translating that and readjusting it or chat GPTing that to fit their own environment and amongst their own people. That's what I think.
Yeah. You know, I mean, it's here Udi is back. Udi saying
Udi the Dawn.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up. Our kids might not have that emotional attachment we have, and we can't force them. That's very true.
No, we can't.
And then our Sheke says some kids resent their parents for sacrificing their family needs to send money to Kenya. I have a friend who had friction with her teenage kids due to this. And to me, especially when you're in a situation where you're finding it tough to meet certain basic needs. I'm not talking about luxury needs like going to Disney or doing things like those. I'm just talking about, you know, like just meeting, you know, like basic everyday needs. If you're struggling, you know, like taking care of that kind of business, I can understand, like why kids will start looking at you some type of way, that you're helping some people who are out there in the distance when your own home right here is falling apart. So I think there's that disconnect. Now here's another thing that I also try to think about. Is there a difference between guys who come here maybe still have that emotional connection, but is there a difference between one who grew up maybe in the city and one who grew up in the village?
Yes.
And what kind of difference are we talking about?
Are you talking about in terms of?
In terms of how they relate to sending money back home. For example, like we wa kijiji, hiyo tuseme kama ni hiyo pesa ya kanisa, familia yake inajulikana kwa hiyo
sana.
Alafu
So wao
huyo wa kijiji,
go ahead Mika.
Huyo wa kijiji kuna vitu mingi anataka kufanya. Number one is depending kijiji ameacha kukuaje. So first thing, they'll build a house for their father or for the parents. Tena pia ajenge yake na nini yake. And it's more about developing where uko pali wako. And then pia kuna hapo kwa kijiji kuna mandugu wengine, it probably have to take care of that. Those who are coming from the city most probably ana hiyo burden kubwa ya family. Wase wengi waliozwa na hii, I don't think watakuwa na hiyo haraka kudevelop ocha. It takes time for them before afikirie story ya kutengeneza huko. So most of the things that afikiria maybe ni investments or trying to just like basically ana ile labda tu ku elevate life ya wale siblings ameacha home, because already maybe wako poa and atawataka kuwa meko at least more better. So you find their responsibilities are kind of different.
And so I'll say this. It is different. When you have when you haven't really lacked, right? You don't understand the struggle.
Yeah.
Where unaamka, unaenda, you wake up, kula breakfast, whatever, either unaingia buu ama unapelekwa whatever. Uko kuamka, kazi ya kwanza unaenda
kuna shamba.
Unaenda unakamua ng'ombe.
Okay, so
na si ng'ombe moja, pengine ni mbili ama tatu. Then from there you have to make sure that you've left, kama ni umeenda, whatever small responsibilities you have. Remember, hakuna stima, hakuna makaa. You have to boil water. You have to boil water, whatever, to bathe or whatever. Then from there you dress up, and chances are, like, your uniform or whatever, ni nguo tu, shirt na kerea, maybe a kasweta, torn, patched, however you want to look at it, na unaenda shule. If an opportunity arises to go, a pathway has been created for you. Unatolewa huko, unaingia Baltimore, ama unaingia Boston, ama unaingia Dallas. Wewe unaona, I am going to do what it takes, whatever it takes, to make sure
that
nitajengea wazazi nyumba ya mawe. Right? On top of that, gari,
nitawatafutia
Probox.
Yeah.
Wanunulie
ng'ombe za grade, wanulie nguruwe wafuge, utawapatia hiyo 700,000 ya mabroiler.
Yeah.
Right? Because you understand. There's an understand. You understand the struggle. You know what it is to lack. You know what it is to not have.
Yeah.
So there is, and for us, we're like, we just go here, we just carry on. That is why, and you'll find that some of the hardest working guys, you are to
watu wacha. Kwa hivyo watu wa jiji ni kuna vile tu.
You think about it.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
No, watu wa jiji vis-a-vis wase ushago. You'll find a guy amenunua broti shiga nona, ameangusha building shiga nona.
No, that's true.
Yes.
That's true. When you
So
look
there's
at
a
people
difference.
like, for example, like people from Kisii, they've really they've really invested, like in Kisii and Nyamira counties.
Yes.
And yeah, and that's true, because mtu ajiji akija huku, they don't even have that thinking. And then hapa Washeke has some interesting comments. She says some kids that I already read. She says that alafu watu wa Ocha get burdened quicker because they tend to marry and leave a wife huko in the village. So that's another thing. People who have families already back home. So now that's a real burden. That's not an optional burden you have. It's a real burden that you have to cater for. Umemwacha labda akona mtoto, so that's a real burden that you have to cater for. And then Udi anasema, I disagree with the comment that watu wa jiji don't struggle. And Udi, please tell us what you think. And I think even when we talk about watu wa jiji, there's different.
They're different.
There's different levels. There are people who
kuna
came
pockets
from,
wa South B, watu wa Kerea vis-a-vis mse wa Umo, Kayole, Umo tu.
Yeah, and there are people who came from very struggling parts of the city.
Yeah,
because remember Nairobi, 65% of the population of Nairobi lives in informal settlement.
Yes.
That's another thing that I think a lot of people sometimes gets lost in translation.
Yes.
So that right there is also,
because when
and those people are struggling even more.
And when
than
I say
mtu wa Ocha,
kuna watu wa jiji, and let us be, we're going to be frank, kuna watu wa jiji wakikuja huku, them they don't have a struggle with housing.
Tunaongea juu ya mapunk.
Haya, sawa. Kuna wase they will not struggle about housing. Already they have a leg up. Housing, gari, right? Shule kulipiwa. Right? That is factual.
That's factual.
We know that. I know that. I've seen it. Right? Vis-a-vis someone like me, niko jiji lakini nilipewa tu ticket, we kuja, we ujisort. Nijipange.
And Udi makes an important point here. He says they have more burden, pressure from the perception. And I think that sometimes can also be an issue. Kuna hiyo issue ya perception. Now
there's that one, but
Now are there and I don't know how to put this. Are there, positive outcomes that come out? Because, we've already talked about the struggles, but is there like any positive outcomes any of you can say based on me helping X, meaning like helping that was not open-ended? Ilifika point, mtu based on the help that you provided, akaweza kujismamisha na akatake off. Do we have those kinds of examples?
Yes.
Yes.
They're
there.
those are
there.
Okay.
Those are
my uncle. Go ahead, Mika.
No, I'm saying we have seen those who have been able to improve like you go to their homestead and you actually see like basically this homestead, there's somebody who's built for their parents. Somehow wameanzishiwa biashara, and we've seen those biasharas taking off. We've seen people who have it's been continuously, but then you've seen people who, like, you look at the younger siblings, they've come up and finished school, and now they actually like you relax, you build yourself, wacha si tujiendelea ama wacha si tutakuwa tunafanyia vitu zingine kazi ulitutolea. So there are those who have seen the benefits of helping. There are those who mpaka leo wanamwaga kwa shimo yenye aitwa Aisha. And there are those who have been just used, and it's painful. So they're both sides. It's a pendulum. There are positive stories of this constant supporting, and there's very negative stories about it.
Yes, and I can attest for both sides. But I remember, I know for a fact that my uncle Babakaro told us my grandfather was so pro-education that any child that wanted to learn, any child that was very smart or whatever, he made sure that child would go to school or would facilitate. So I remember one time my uncle telling us the best thing you can do, it's like don't just be look at a family, see a child that is promising, get that child elimisha. Do whatever you can, because if they're coming from, they're destitute. If you can look at mbele, nyuma, sideways, there's nothing or there's no one that they can rely on. Get that child, somesha, elimisha, and that one now will be career. We have several examples of that. And as Mika said, I have an example of somebody we tried to saidia,
to motivate.
Gade, tuligonga ukuta.
Uligonga mwamba.
Gade ile mbaya mbofu.
Yeah.
So there are examples, and like Mika said, you will have those instances where you have people who you help and they do well, and there are those people who it's like they will want you to do everything for them until they become grandparents.
Wow. Okay.
Like, like I think it was Ruth or Washeke said, Wanjeri, unamuelimisha, anaingia high school, unaelimisha, anaingia uni, unaelimisha, akioa, uko hapo, unasupport, akipata watoto, unasupport. But, some of our parents do that. We have those people who our parents have been supporting.
No, our parents have hearts of gold.
Yes.
That our generation might not be able to match.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, we may not be able to match, but we still have that.
Yeah, but then I think it's important to, not create that dependency, because it kind of becomes generational. Especially when kids grow up seeing that our parents were getting money from X, and then they figure out that this is the normal way to do things, that you get money from X to cater for your needs. That dependency becomes generational. And of course, there's a part that people don't have control over, that we just have a very upside down economy right now. And I think solving economical problems is going to solve a lot of these issues we're talking about, because I believe at the end of the day, everybody, or at least, let me not say everybody, at least most people want to have the decency of saying, I built this using my own money. I educated my kid using my own money. Because I also try to look at these things from another perspective. There is no honor in, constantly going out there and asking for money. So I honestly think, if things were righted in a certain way, a lot of these problems are gonna go away. So we have people who are dealing with
but this
very dire situation.
But this one, this one starts not when you're 19, 20, 21. This starts when you are 5, 6, 7.
No, that's
another
right.
thing. That's another thing, because unaanza, you start imparting such things at an early age, not at 16, 17.
Yeah, but then I think there's some people, there's such intense poverty in certain segments of Kenya.
Yes.
And I think most of us who are out here in the diaspora,
In a lot
of parts.
Yeah.
I think those of us who are out here in the diaspora, we tend to be 10%ers. I know people don't like hearing this, but unfortunately you are.
Upende usipende.
When you think about Nairobi, for example, Nairobi, especially those of us who've come from the city, Nairobi is over 65% of the population, and I think that's even increasing, lives in informal settlements. By informal settlement, we mean, a settlement that's not permanent. We're talking,
Kibra,
and not just Kibra, there's a certain part of Kibra, Laini Saba, because there's a good part of Kibra.
Mathare.
There's Mathare. Now, even in Langata,
yes,
there's now a Kijiji inside of Langata. These slums are growing because more people can no longer afford homes. And I know when Zakayo hears this, he's going to start saying, that is why we are building affordable homes. But you see, we have a deeper problem than just affordable homes. We have a problem of income. People do not have good options to earn decent incomes, because I think once people start earning decent incomes, a lot of these other problems are gonna start solving themselves. And this is where, as diasporans, we now have to start thinking differently beyond building houses, building castles in the village. And hear me, I know people love their castles in the village.
Yeah.
I know people love their castles in the village. But when you think about it, when you spend I don't know how much it costs to build a castle in a village, but I've seen, like some very serious castles, some very serious haciendas in that group that, like Kenyans were showing off their homes. I've seen some very serious homes built by diasporans. So let's say if you build, like a home that's worth maybe, let's say 10 million. You build that hacienda in your village. First of all, you cannot rent that home. Yes, you're going to provide employment for a temporary period for the people who are going to build it, and maybe long term for one person who maybe is going to be a caretaker. So, but then when you think about, if you take that 20 million, if let's say 5 of us take our 20 million each and start, like a proper business, because 100 million shillings, you can easily start a business that will employ maybe even 30 people on a permanent basis. That is now what's called growing the economy. Not only are you getting a good return,
yes.
not only are you getting a good return from that business, but now you've created 30 jobs within the economy. So think about if all diasporans start thinking like that and move beyond, not to knock, like Kafrotis, rentals, Airbnbs and everything, but if you're thinking in terms of growing the economy, you have to start thinking in terms of ideas and businesses that are gonna be not only profitable to you, but that are gonna employ multiple people in the longer term. What examples do we have? The Somalis in Minneapolis.
My friend.
Somalis in Minneapolis, they're building in Isli, a place that was once a dump. Everybody was like, why would someone invest here?
Kilimani.
Yeah, now they're in
Hizo
Kilimani.
Kilimani, Lavington ni nyumba za Somali.
Ni nyumba za Somali, yeah, but they started, Isli was ground zero where they started. Now Isli, you have banks, I think, sijui kama ni Equity ama ni gani, that's open 24 hours there. There never used to be a bank out there. So now think about it, even a bank that normally would never invest infrastructure in a part like Isli, now is forced to go there because that's where the money is, and that's where you're growing the economy. Hii kitu ya sijui, certain companies are coming from Kenya and then they're telling you, oh, we can give you an apartment. They're sending you 120 WhatsApp messages. They even found Washeke's address. I don't know how they found Washeke's address, and they're sending her messages telling her nunua apartment Kilimani and nunua apartment sijui Ruaka Mawapi. This, unfortunately, these kinds of investments are not gonna grow the economy the way we want. Or Syokimau. They're not gonna grow the economy the way we want.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Ruth.
I see when people say Kenya is growing, and don't get me wrong, Kenya is growing, but like the more things change, the more they remain the same. I have that feeling when I go to Kenya, especially once you leave Nairobi. There are places I feel like nothing has changed here.
Okay.
People are still looking for jobs. The mindset about, especially if you don't live in Nairobi, or even if you live in Nairobi, is if there's no money for higher education, which is unfortunate, but it does happen, but people don't have a way out, and so they kind of end up doing odd jobs because that's all they can do, that's what's available to them. And I keep wondering, does the government really have a plan to grow the economy that people on the ground can feel?
Now, here's a problem with the way the government operates and our broken political system. So when the government sees that there's a lot of development that's been done, they usually take small snippets. There's certain parts of the Kenyan economy that have grown that very few people are feeling. So they will amplify that. But they don't look at the, you want to look, when you want to know a country is growing, you want to look at the bottom 10% and the middle 90%.
Okay.
Not the top 10%, because all this growth that you're being given is all top 10%.
Yes, unfortunately.
So when you start critically looking at the bottom, at the middle 90% and the bottom 10%, that's when you realize that we are actually regressing. Like people normally who would have grown up in because you're saying like when you go to some of these villages you find people who went to school
Same old,
you know,
I'm like, it doesn't
performed well,
change.
but now they're doing odd jobs. You educated these kids for a very long time, but now they're reduced to doing odd jobs. They want to tell graduates in university who've done some very sophisticated degrees like engineering, go be Uber drivers or go do TikTok. That's what they're telling people now. Go do TikTok to make money. But here I'm saying, you know, like we are talking about they talk about we have a shortage of healthcare workers. We tend to graduate a lot of healthcare workers, but then there's still a lot of unemployment among these people who've been trained in healthcare.
And they're moving abroad en masse, by the way.
And by the way, no, let's not even go far. You're talking about healthcare. Don't we have a strike going on right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually, even nurses are actually about to join. Healthcare providers, not providers, healthcare professionals, nurses, they're about to join. They're about to down their tools as we speak, if they haven't already. And the government itself is not doing anything. Okay, I try to understand the system of hiring, because I think once you graduate, then you have to do an internship, you know. But listening to the guy who is the head of health, I guess the top down, there was an agreement that was signed, an MOU with the previous government that is supposed to be implemented, but they don't want to implement it because, according to him, it was being forced down their throats. But your government, the Kenyan government, nothing is usually forced down your throat. How do you then sign something that you know? So now they're trying to renege and trying to find a way. This again, every year they are graduating nurses. Every year they are graduating doctors. These guys, how hard is it to find a system where, okay, nurses graduate, doctors graduate, they go for internship or whatever, wherever they're going? Because we've always had that. See, what was it? Frasha.
Yeah, Frasha.
See, he was a doctor for a while, worked for the government. Then after he malized this thing, he went his own way. We know I'm sure, I don't know about you, but I know for some people who did that, they worked with the government for a few years. Then, you know, they went into private practice. What make sense such that mwanamke anaenda Baringo Hospital anazalia kwa floor.
You know, the problem that we have in Kenya, first of all, it's in multiple dimensions. So we had a political problem and we were able to solve it. You know, like we went through violence in 2007 and we were able to solve it with a new constitution in 2010. But now we have, you know, like a bigger problem, which is an economic problem. So when Kibaki came into power, I think people went to bed and thought that this is how things are going to work forever. Because the very simple thing that Kibaki did is that he did not allow politicians to be the problem solvers. Because our problem is we are using politicians to solve problems. So Kibaki hired, you know, like a very big team of technocrats. Yes, of course.
I remember that.
Of course, there were the political people who were hired, but then there was a very big team of technocrats that was hired, you know, like in very different areas. You know, like we have this problem here. Of course, Kibaki himself is a technocrat on matters the economy. So he had, you know, like a first hand in there, but also the people who are under him were very well qualified people.
Very, yes.
So the problem is right now we have politicians who are trying to solve problems. There's nowhere in this world where politicians have solved, you know, like economic, infrastructure, these critical type of problems, hunger. And that's what we need in Kenya. We have a very big issue of unemployment. What solution is being provided? Get out of the country and go find jobs elsewhere. Which is kind of like saying, I have surrendered. You know, like there is no solution here. Tokeni, it's like a parent telling their 12-year-old children, I have surrendered. Go to the neighbors, go to the next village to look for food. I cannot provide food for you. And that right there is very, very dangerous. Ruth.
No, thank you for saying that. I think you're trying to answer what I said. It does feel that the government has given up to begin with, because if I don't know how a country's president will leave a country and say nimeenda kuwatafutia kazi mahali pengine, and actually that country has promised me that it can take this amount of Kenyans. What are you doing in the country?
Oof.
Right? That, like, because you're draining the country of its talent, deliberately so. And then you made it palatable, or you made it that people do think that lazima tutoke hapa. You know, so everybody's going to graduate wanting to leave because opportunities there's nothing in this country. But guess what? We have a population that probably will never leave Kenya, and it needs those people.
Yes.
And here's another thing. So you're talking about looking for people to go outside the country. First, they can't even get passports. They can't even get passports.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Can I tie to this topic today?
Yes.
Watoke kwa ili walipe black tax vizuri. That is the plan.
And I think I don't know.
Entrenching black tax.
And thank you.
Yes.
Entrenching black tax.
Making it permanent.
Because of some of the things that they had, and I think it was in that draft that was Kirea.
The draft policy that we
were reviewing last week.
Yep.
But also here's the thing. You know, we're not saying don't look for work, but sometimes, and I think something that people really need to start thinking about, and it was brought up by Kai in his latest The Kicker. There's a lot of corruption going on, but corruption, people are not talking about it. They're not, even if they talk about it in passing.
Yeah.
They've resigned themselves.
Okay, they're okay. Tumekubali matokeo. I was asking you, but I know. I was asking because John Alenamu was on Newsgang, and he was actually addressing the investigation they did on fertilizer,
on African Uncensored.
Yeah, fake fertilizer. You have not Kithure Kindiki, the other guy, Linturi. Isn't it the CS of Agriculture, something like that?
Linturi.
Mythical Linturi.
Yeah,
yes. Telling people to go ahead and get fertilizer. And remember, it's a contract. And by the way, this issue about this supposed Kerea fertilizer was in the previous government and is still persistent in the current government. The government spokesperson, Mwaura, calls it soil conditioner.
Are you serious?
It's on record. He said that. The conditioner for the soil.
Wow.
It was a conditioner. Yes.
Like, they're not even hiding.
They're not hiding.
So you see,
because they're not going to say that for no reason.
And you're like, and these are monies.
Anyway.
Did you guys see the Kerea Arama? Some big shot MP, whatever, in Nakuru, made a boy carry a poster saying thank you for bursaries. He might be doing. I
saw a picture.
He might be doing a good job, but these are the things where politicians are the ones who are supposedly solving.
And this is the problem when you give politicians money to solve problems, which is why, like, I have a philosophical disagreement with this idea of giving all MPs money, and now they're asking for more money to solve their own problems. Now, politicians, think of a politician as a hammer, so they see all problems like nails. Yeah.
So ni nyundo tu.
So their goal
na si wakomeo.
Their goal is to get re-elected. That's their ultimate goal. So their solutions, rather than being tailored to actually helping people on the ground, their solutions are going to be tailored to getting them re-elected. And the problem with the solutions that are needed to solve the problems that are on the ground are those ones that you cannot show on a poster. And that's the reason why people bring in a Nissan Matatu, written ambulance hapo nje, and then take pictures of it, and then say, I brought ambulances to the village. Until when an actual emergency
And
is
you
there
need it.
and you need it, is when they discover hii si ambulance, ni matatu iko hapo ndani.
Now, there's some few comments that are clear here. Moto, I know. But before you read the comments, you remember that Keria Ruto governor who brought power washers as firefighting equipment?
Yeah.
And people
that was in Wasin, was it in Uasin Gishu County? It was one of those counties. I can't remember exactly which one it was. It was Bomet.
It was hailed as Bomet. I think it was Bomet.
It was Bomet.
Power washer to fight fire.
Yeah.
And people saw that as a big thing.
But then you see when you take pictures of them, and here's the other problem with how Kenyans have been conditioned politically, people unfortunately get premature orgasms when they see these pictures of ambulances that are painted outside
Why
ambulances.
do you have to like use that analogy? But
It's the only one that came to me.
It makes sense.
I was looking to see if you're paying attention,
Yeah.
and now I know you're paying attention.
No excuse for that, Ali. No excuse for that.
But now, and the reason, it's deliberate because, like, people get so excited when they see those things,
And
that's the
rolling their
reason
eyes
why-
back because...
Yeah, and the reason why I say that is
Oh, no.
because
Sorry.
the reason why is because you see, like, even us in the diaspora, we sometimes try to blame people in Kenya. Even us in the diaspora, President Ruto is gonna be coming.
No, we do
here
the same thing.
for an official state visit.
Yes.
You're gonna start seeing how people are gonna start, like getting excited and taking pictures when we have certain real problems.
Having what?
Ndani amekataa.
Thank you, Ali. I
Ruth
appreciate
amekataa
that.
ni-
POs.
Eh?
POs.
Hiyo hata sijui ni nini. Yeah.
Thank you, Ali.
Premise.
Excitement.
Na
I
si
think you need to
watoto.
leave.
Let's use
Oh, no.
excitement. Let's use
Thank you. I
let's use
appreciate
excitement.
that.
Yeah. But then
It's a serious show.
but then you
With
see-
serious things, and we are trying to drive a point home.
Yeah.
Some serious matter than you're
Yeah.
going on.
But now you see someone will remember that point.
Thank
because of
you.
that. But anyway, but this is what I'm talking about. Let's stop this thing of getting excited. Africa is waking up. You saw what happened in Burkina Faso, and you saw what recently happened in Senegal. Senegal walikuwa wanataka kupangwa by their former president, but wakasema
no.
hatupangwingwi, and they've elected a 44-year-old. That this guy that they were really trying hard to get him out. I mean, the jury is still out there of how he's gonna do.
Yeah, the jury is out, but
Yeah, I mean, of course,
wameongea.
yeah, but you see,
Wamebonga.
but they've spoken.
They have spoken.
Yeah, and the 44-year-old came in with 2 wives.
Mame,
You know,
ebu gota, ngumi ni bwetse.
Yeah, that was just a side
yes,
note.
yes.
That was just a side note.
Yes,
So
but a very
if-
important side note.
If I don't show up to the show,
Yeah?
some of these comments are the reason why.
Well,
Ngumi ni bwetse.
well, but
I'm just
the
saying.
Senegal president, he does
No,
have-
yeah,
what
that's
he did.
fine.
does have
That's
2
not,
wives.
no problem.
Yeah,
No problem.
see.
Yeah, yes,
The
Jakarta.
people of Senegal.
Your part
The
Jakarta.
people of Senegal were very happy with him, and they elected him. They were very, very happy with him
And
Of course.
apparently,
against all odds.
apparently there was
Kwani
a...
mabibi wawili, kuna shida gani na mabibi wawili?
Anyway, hiyo ni topic another day. Hey, Mika,
Side by
nataka
side.
kwanza topic ingine na tuko karibu we're coming to a close. But what I'm saying is that the continent is waking up. You see, even in South Africa right now, Julius Malema, I mean, of course, he doesn't have enough to become president as per the polls, but he's caused enough chaos for the ruling party to be worried, and his party is mostly younger people.
Yeah.
It's mostly younger people. And I think they have support of like 12 maybe to 15%. They might garner 12 to 15% of the vote, and the ANC might need them to govern, because it said that the ANC might not strike the 50%. So other parts of Africa, people are waking up. But to me, it seems politically, we may be progressing in other areas, but politically in Kenya, I feel like we're regressing.
tumelalia masikio.
I feel
Actually,
like
tumelalia,
not only
tuna
kulalia
regress.
masikio,
Tuna
kulalia
regress.
masikio uko pale pale, we are regressing.
We are
moving
regressing
back
backwards.
from MO1 to MO2. Ruth.
I had too many thoughts as you're talking, but there's one that kind of stuck. Can we get Malema to lead the AU? Would that be allowed?
No, I mean,
Wouldn't that need support
that would need support, but I think
from like other leaders?
He would need support
like
other
from
countries.
from other countries.
You will need support from other countries.
But to me,
But I think in
Malema,
terms of like changing the mindset of Africans.
I think what he needs to do
Yeah.
is that right now, because ANC might not get 50% of the vote. I think the vote in South Africa is coming up sometime in May. I don't know exactly what date. ANC will still have the most number of MPs. They'll still get the most votes, but they may not get the 50% majority needed to govern. So they will be forced. They have to make a choice on which other party to work with. And I don't know, I don't know what they're gonna decide. I mean, of course, they have to wait for the result to see that decision. But to me, I think if they're able to work with Malema, then Malema can set himself up to be the candidate to beat in the next election.
But I see your vision.
Yeah.
I totally respect Julius. Totally.
Yeah. And we have a number of those. We have Julius, we have Ibrahima Traore, Burkina Faso. We now have the Senegalese president. And these people, they're slowly coming up.
Yeah.
In Kenya tu ndo bado tunarudi nyuma.
Tunalegea. But I was gonna say
kuna Babu Owino coming in pretty
Oh
soon.
my word. Oh.
Okay.
please.
Oh no, Mike.
Yeah, before now even he made me lose my thinking.
Mika
But what I like about what I like about South Africa, also is their stand.
Oh my goodness.
Pertaining to the butchers of Gaza and what they have done to let it be known. They are very vocal, and they have been adamant, and I appreciate what they are.
By the way, a number of mosques in Maryland have come together, and they are acknowledging, they're hosting South Africa at the Marriott, I think it's in Gaithersburg. They're hosting the ambassador and a big South African contingent to thank them for the heroism that they've shown, for being able to stand up for Palestine where other Muslim leaders failed. So they're actually being fitted. Unfortunately, that event is gonna be when Wanjeri is gonna be taking care of us in Boston,
which is okay.
So I'm gonna miss out. So I'm gonna miss out.
Yeah,
but
you're going to send emissaries and envoys.
Yes, emissaries.
Yes,
yeah, and envoys.
But I am curious. I am really truly curious, and I'm hoping that my new favorite podcast, The Thinking Muslim, is going to address the issue of the leaders, because they've already pointed out, like Saudi Arabia, they've pointed out that UAE. Those ones are very shaky, especially when it comes to like the Sudan issue and the Sudan matter. I mean, I'm digressing just a little bit because I know you have to wrap up in terms of how they are dealing with Russia and the US. And how like now, and actually it started making sense when you're talking about how Saudi Arabia was trying to have like the fights and having Shakira's whoever perform that goes against.
And it's in the middle of this crisis.
In the middle of the crisis.
In the crisis that we have in Palestine.
And then telling the religious leaders, not the
ulamas.
The ulamas. The scholars. Giving them something, telling them to say that whatever he's doing
don't rebel against your leader.
Something like that. I was like, yo, this is what Ali was saying. It started clicking.
So like all those leaders in Muslim countries, especially those Middle Eastern countries, chuma chao kimotoni right now.
There's Erdogan.
Erdogan is actually not. Erdogan is Turkish. The Turks are not Arabs, but Erdogan kidogo, he has a stand. He has not come out as forcefully as he should have. But at least him, to a certain level, he's still like viewed fairly positively in the Muslim world.
So chuma za nani ziko
first of all the countries in the Middle East, starting from even the Arab countries in Africa, starting from Egypt. Like Egypt has a military ruler, Al-Sisi. Like he would never dare do an election because he knows what will happen. Countries that were initially softening to Israel, trying to go normalize, like in Tunisia, they've reversed course. Because right now the people are saying, anybody who touches this issue, we are gonna make dust out of you. So now they're all jittery, and they don't know, like what's going to happen. And as you can see, Biden right now is trying to negotiate with Netanyahu. Do not go into this hospital. Do not go. There was
The
an
Al-Shifa
iftar.
hospital,
There was
boss.
that traditional iftar dinner that he welcomes Muslim leaders. Guess what happened this year? All of them told him, nope, sorry, we are not coming.
Boss.
Unless ceasefire, hakuna kitu ingine.
Biden is saying
But
that.
back to South Africa.
Yes.
South Africa stood up, and they will forever be lionized. Right now, even in different places of mosques, in different places of worship, mosques, people are being told to go tour South Africa. Muslims are being told,
Go to
Nendeni
South
South Africa.
Yeah.
That's how personal this thing has become, because these guys were able to stand up in a very hostile environment, and they put everything on the line, to stand up for this cause. And that's the reason why,
I think
to
we
me,
need-
South Africa moves from being one of my favorite African countries to one of my favorite countries in the world when it comes to their politics. I don't agree with everything, but just how the way they stand up and how they do their politics, they have a lot of clarity. They have a lot of clarity when it comes to
Apartheid
these
and
global
oppression.
issues.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have a lot of clarity when it comes to
Yeah.
that, which is something that I think, in as advanced as we think we are in Kenya, when it comes to political consciousness, we've gone backwards.
Bro, didn't we just see Benny Hinn come to Kenya?
Let's not start
Can you read
another.
the comments?
In addition to Benny Hinn, there was TikTok that was to be banned. Now, I wanted to read about one of Udi's comments, and which I I'll just read that one. I think says, Mr. Gedongo brought so many kids to Towson, not only Towson. So Mr. Gedongo is my uncle, my mom's first cousin. Gedongo's mother and my grandfather were brother and sister. That Mr. Gedongo.
Is that the Gidongo was doing anti-corruption in Kenya?
No, not him.
Okay.
That's a different
Yeah.
one. Walter.
Okay.
Walter's dad.
Yeah.
So Gedongo,
Mhm.
my grandfather,
Mhm.
was those guys who loved education, and Walter's dad was those guys who loved reading. He was number one in Central Province.
Oh, nice.
And when Jiri's high school was started, Gedongo was among the first students. I think the first
And
two
Jiris at
2
some
years.
point was a giant. in
Yeah, it was a
Central.
giant.
Yeah.
So he went there, and my grandfather did his thing, facilitated. But yes, Mr. Gedongo did facilitated and open doors
Mhm.
for family and friends.
Oh, that's good.
For him, he was paying forward,
Yeah.
and forever he'll always be. I'm gonna use the word lionize, but
Yeah.
not compared to South Africa. But he'll always be lauded as that guy who
Yeah.
opened doors for many.
Kiislamu tunaita
it
hiyo
is.
sadakatul jari, yani sadaka ambayo you educated someone,
Yes.
they will forever be educated and they will educate other people.
Other
So
people.
that will continue.
And that's where we've learned.
It-
That's
it-
where
it-
we've learned. That's where we've learned.
Yeah.
That's where we've learned. So that's for like now for us in our family, we really treasure and love education. Na tunapenda tunaona mtoi ana struggle mahali, and we can understand. We once we understand the dynamics,
Yeah.
tunajua ni madhokodhani Ruth.
Okay, Ruth.
I'm
Before we wrap
reading
it up.
comments, and then I'll make a comment on some of these things that we said. Wanjeri says, I'm so proud to say that every child I've ever supported has gone on to become very successful, and I'm proud. I've gone to become very successful people, and I am proud. What frustrates me is they've no sense of paying it forward. That is, I think the black tax part is, I think once people are beneficiaries of it, maybe because they didn't struggle per se, I don't know what that would mean, they never know how to like make sure someone else doesn't go through that. And I think I've seen that with a lot of people in Kenya where it's someone else's problem. They never see as if it's something that they can also do.
Yeah.
Then Udi says, my boy hooked me up with my first job as a valet in Baltimore, and I hooked up a few Kenyans there. Stephen JJ, tumestruggle na hii ukweli. I agree with one Mike though. Watu wa Ocha mpe opportunity and see wonders. Very focused, and they seem to know who to trust to get the work done. Udi, what you read. And then Stephen JJ is telling you, Ali, castles ni muhimu, Ali. This is the castles in the village. Wazi Ali, you are now thinking, you're now thinking how I have been saying. Not sure what that means. Stephen DJ said they found mine also last week. Nimepata maflyer kwa mailbox. I think so. You're talking about.
No, and I think that's where and I just to pause kidogo. I think the banks, if you have a bank account in Kenya, a diaspora bank account, I suspect they're selling our information. Because how do these organizations get our addresses? I highly suspect banks na tukiwapata, we are going to sort them perpendicularly.
Let me ask you, Kenya, if there is any law around privacy or like information, they don't exist.
No, they don't care. Even if they exist, they're not followed.
I'm just
gonna
say they don't exist. It's easier for me to work with they don't exist.
Existing they do, but they're not followed. Yeah.
Because even within Kenya, it's people just talk about your information to someone else. People would just like literally not just talk about your information to someone else. Who not related at all. It's like when you customers do happen, they give you everything.
Whichever building you go to, don't you write your information over there? What if you just go and write?
By the way,
thank you.
Your own ID. Me, I always refuse. I always refuse to write with my ID. I never do my ID. Like I will just write a number.
You can go and write a number and a phone number.
So normally write just a number.
I have been corrected enough.
The ID numbers.
Telephone number. Yeah, the telephone numbers from not ID numbers. Telephone numbers from either security companies.
I will not, again, this one I would rather assume they don't exist than the opposite. This other one, I sign up for there's a showing they had and I signed up for it, and then I went to see, and I'm being vague because I don't want to talk about the company because I'm like I don't even understand, and then they send me links so that they can follow up, and I clicked on the link to look at it. Now normally, if you were here, anybody can know you clicked on the link where how far you are. But ta calling me kamba nakupigia sababu nimeona click link tu sahi.
Hakuna hata kuficha.
Hakuna kuficha. And then sasa nimekuona click sahi.
Yeah.
So nimeona nikupigia saizi tuongee.
So you can't even deny it. Hakuna kudeny.
I wasn't even denying it. I was like, listen, this was like my alone time to go through the things tuliongea. I'll call you later. Hapana. So umeongelea ukanamsani kujibu saizi. I've never felt violated as I did that day. But anyway, back to my comments. They found mine also.
The iron is hot.
Yes. I guess. Last week nipata maflyer kwa mailbox. Then Steven is telling me, Ruth kila mtu ni asla siku hizi. Aslas wako kwa government. One Mike show, are you saying Frasha the artist was a medical doc?
That is Fab.
Yeah.
Kwani I lied.
Frasha was a doctor.
Yes. Yeah. Fabian Kidhinji, wewe. Digithia. Carry on.
And then political cronies, washeke, and sycophants have been awarded key positions and they have no clue. Wait.
Remember,
I think they have no clue.
Not even that. Not like now. Currently, there are some positions that are up for career that the president suggested they have to go to parliament to be vetted.
Yeah,
and 3 of those guys have got pending cases because of corruption and whatever not. But chances are those guys are gonna.
They're gonna sail through.
That is a problem. But carry on.
Parliament.
Politicians will never solve problems because they are never professionals in what they are assigned to chair. Then Ashekeda say, leave our orgasms alone, Ali. Yeah, the news gang with Alan Namo as a guest of fake fertilizer expose was fire. Malema wants South Africa president. Na US ndio tuna AARP candidates. You know what? I am not even true. Kenya is still controlled by home guards and we are so okay with the status quo. We are not hungry enough for a revolution. I agree. Sometimes I wonder whether people have been so pressed to even know what to ask for. When Jerry says, can we celebrate Senegal having 2 first ladies? And then Mubela says, Mwini in TZ had 2 wives. So I guess this is all
so
news.
TZ did it before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then when Jerry says, when Mandela left prison, the first person in
Zikibaki pia alikuwa na wawili.
I have one wife.
No, he did they did a press conference declaring he has one wife.
Yeah.
Tunajua hili kwa sentiment imeandikwa na Lucy.
When
Who is your mother?
When Mandela left prison, the first person he visited was Yasser Arafat.
Oh yeah, so sometimes people always have this issue or kwa nini Mwafrika mnasupport Arabu and they never support us. Palestine was with South Africa, like at their worst hour of need, and that's the reason why this was a no-brainer for South Africa.
Yeah.
They put up like a very solid case very fast from when that issue started, before it degenerated to becoming a genocide. Like it already started becoming a genocide, and it even got worse over time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then Washeke, I think they mined my data from Kenyan Embassy in DC. Fab says, Ali, true about the banks. I've been getting so many texts on investments into 54 on WhatsApp. Mubelwa, hata ukiwa na 2 wives, bado unakuwa na 1 first lady.
Okay. But also former South African president, I think he also had multiple wives.
Zuma.
Jacob Zuma, but he also had multiple corruption cases, and you see he paid for it, and that's the one thing I like about South Africa. In as much as like they tried to bring him back, hakuweza kurudi. There was that story that we're gonna talk about Davido, but I think time imeisha. I don't know what Mike. Kulikuwa na hiyo story ya Davido suing K24. Ama historia leo imeshika moto sana.
Imeshika nare.
There's no way that can fit into.
Please. It won't fit. It won't fit. Wacha tuseme hivi. Wahenga walinena kilicho na mwanzo. Can I wrap up?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Kilicho na mwanzo hakina budi kuwa na mwisho. Meli imetia nanga. We are about to wrap this puppy up. Mika, och!
Hey. I gotta go to my reparations anyway. Honestly, it's there were earthquakes in America today, like around 11 of them, 7 in California. No, there were like 9 of them, 7 in California and 2 in the East Coast.
Where?
In the upper East Coast. And if they would have been a little bit higher, it would have been bad for a lot of people. So that's what to say, like, we're thankful. And it's another Friday where people share their time again with us. Tumekuja base, tumepiga story leo. And it's been a good conversation. Wachangiaji wetu wamechangia kama kawaida, and we really appreciate it. So I know right now we are heading into that warm weather. Hey, graduation time to go outside. Let's just remember, let's be careful again. No drinking, no driving. About the COVID yokuwa. Let's be careful, but enjoy yourself. This time the sun is coming out. One Mike amesema next show anakuja shirtless. Some body ready to.
Where speak for self, bro. Speak for self. Sisi bado hajafika hiyo kiwango.
Anyway, it was wonderful. Thanks for joining in, and see you next weekend. And next weekend tunaenda kuwa na wakimbizi wakikimbia. Abana tuaje ni wakimbizi ama wakimbiaji?
Wakimbizi ni refugees.
Wakimbiaji.
Hata si wakimbiaji.
Wakimbiaji.
Si wakimbiaji.
Wanariadha.
There you go.
Wanariadha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And here's an interesting thing I found out about the word riadha. It's also picked up from Arabic.
Yeah. I've been listening to a lot of the podcast thinking Muslim.
Yeah.
I'm telling you,
hear those
I am
words.
hearing words. I'm like,
yeah,
like hadith,
yeah.
Rizq.
dunya.
Dunya.
I'm like
Arth. Yes, you hear
And I'm
that
like,
a lot. Yeah. You'll
thinking
hear that
Muslim.
a lot.
But yeah. Sorry, Mika. Carry on.
No, mimi nimemaliza.
Oh, okay, sawa. Ruth Kilonge.
I have a question for Ali first.
Yes.
in light of what you guys just talked about, a ton of Swahili words having similarities with some of Arabic words. When they say Swahili kind of mingled with Arabs at the coast, you've always denied that there was no marriage there at all.
No, I never denied it. When did I do that?
You've said something to that effect.
Let me tell you what I said.
Yes.
What I said, what your GHC teacher taught you, is that the Arabs came and wakamingle na Mijikendas. That is what we deny. That's what was taught on GHC. The Arabs came, mixed with the Mijikendas, and created the Swahili people.
Swahili.
Yeah, and that's...
No, I don't remember that part.
Okay, what did you learn in GHC?
I remember the Arabs came to the coast and intermingled with the locals, and that's where Swahili...
Who are the locals? Who are the locals?
When I said intermingled, I don't mean actually... I think when you say... Okay, what did you say?
Okay, so here's what happened.
Yeah.
So GHC, what GHC said is that Swahili is a language that resulted from a mixture of Mijikenda and Arabic. And the basic question I always ask people is what language was ever formed anywhere in the world from two languages mixing? I always challenge people to give me one language. So the argument was the Arabs came and mixed with the Mijikendas and created Kiswahili. But then now you see, first of all, like there was no such group as a Mijikenda. Kuna Wagiriama, Wadigo, na
But they
nini.
never said Mijikenda. They said the coastal communities. I never had. I had the coastal communities, which is.
Well, go back to look at any old GHC book.
Okay.
Go back to look at any old GHC book.
No problem. Let's
That's
move
what
on
they
from
say.
that.
Yeah.
But
So essentially, what they were saying is that Swahili people, the Swahili speaking groups of people, did not exist before the Arabs came.
so it wasn't people. Swahili, the language, did not.
Yes, Swahili the language.
Yes.
It did not exist.
So it's not the people, the language.
But
Yeah,
Ruth,
which is
Yeah.
not
Swahili,
true.
the language, was a language that was spoken by the Swahili people.
It was spoken.
So, which is
Was
fine.
Swahili.
No problem. So, explain to me why then I understand quite a number of Arabic words in Swahili.
Okay, explain to me why
Yeah.
English is almost 42% borrowed from other languages.
From Latin. Okay.
Yeah, but we never call English
no, that makes
a
sense.
Latin
Thank
language.
you. I
So
appreciate that.
Swahili, the part that Swahili has borrowed
Yeah.
is generally it's mostly certain words, generally between 8 to 10%. And the words that were borrowed will come to, of course, the religious part. Most of these words are derived directly from the Quran.
Okay.
Yeah, most of these words that were borrowed. Administration, rais, waziri, diwani, like anything to do with government.
If you listen to the Thinking
Wilaya.
podcast,
Yeah.
With who? What?
the
It's
Thinking Muslim,
a podcast. It's called the Thinking Muslim.
Muslim.
Very
Okay.
interesting podcast.
whenever those umas or those sheikhs or the intellectuals over there, the number of words that they utter,
Elimu, ilm. They'll always talk
yes,
ilm
yes,
for elimu.
and I'm like, that sounds
Yeah.
like elimu.
Ah.
It is. I'm like,
Risala for message, which is also used in Kiswahili. Risala.
Rambi.
Risala za rambi rambi. Yeah. So I'm actually, and I wasn't meant to announce this, but because you brought this up, I'm actually working on a project to pick out words, because a lot of these words, I would say 90% of them come directly from the Quran. Like literally every page from the analysis I've done, literally every page of the Quran, over 600 pages, has at least has a number of Swahili words that you'll be able to pick up.
So
and of course, these were words that Swahili borrowed from Arabic.
Did the Arabic
Well,
language
Ali.
change for that?
Yeah, so
Issue ya Kiswahili si tutafanya next week.
angoja sijasikia hiyo swali yako ya mwisho. Hiyo swali yako ya mwisho.
So Swahili borrowed from Arabic.
Yeah.
Did Arabic borrow from
So
Swahili?
Arabic generally is one of these, like, and I'm not just saying this because, like I understand some Arabic. It's one of the most complete languages in the sense that it's one of the languages, it has borrowed, but it has borrowed the least from other languages. So Swahili has definitely tended to borrow more, and there's a structure that Swahili has that, unlike English, Swahili does not invent what it did not create. So it will always acknowledge whatever item it is. The kitabu, you know, that came from Arabs. Shule. So there's two names for school. There's shule and there's also skuli. Shule is German. You know, like there's words like leso. That's Portuguese. Misa, a church service. That's Portuguese, because they're the first people who brought churches to Kenya. So there's always, in all the words that Swahili borrowed, and that's the reason why it's one of the most advanced African languages, because it had a structure of borrowing in a way that it does not create something. That's why words like runinga never took root. Runinga for TV. It's a word that Kenyans created and tried to use it as Swahili, but it's still televisioni. Because we did not invent the TV, we are not going to create a word showing that this word existed. So with words, you'll always know which words, especially if you understand those other languages, you'll understand where an item came from. Baiskeli, you'll know where a bicycle first came from. Yeah. So I was going to say, I'm working on doing a project of just giving the history of where these words came from, these words that were borrowed, and how they fit into the Swahili language. But real quick, before Malize, there was no, the Swahili people did exist before the Arabs came. They were in different groups. The different dialects you hear of Kiswahili, Kimvita, Kimakunduchi, Kimrima, those are different dialects of Kiswahili. So they were being spoken before the Arabs came. And there's evidence to show that the language existed before the Arabs came. And the Digos and the Giriamas, so Swahilis are not Mijikendas.
Oh, by the way, I know that. That's why I push back on the Mijikendas part.
But
because actually, Washekeda says something here. They said the Bantus intermarried with Arabs to form Swahili. That is what we were taught. It wasn't.
That is wrong information.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm just to say it wasn't Mijikendas only.
Mashakura malikuja malikuwa marieda.
So let me say thank you so much. I know I was a bit late, but
a bit.
Because I actually did announce I was gonna be late. That's why I'm saying a bit.
I did not know, but in story and you may attend.
Sorry, HR. But it's always nice coming to the studio and hanging out with you guys, despite some long weeks. These are my friends. Tukutane saidi ingine during the week when possible. But if not, next time I'm in town. When I say town, I mean to the studio. Tutaongea. Next week tutakuwa Boston.
Yes.
I heard you. So are we having the show?
Yes, we're going to have the show. No. We're going to have the show, but it's going to be abbreviated. Right? We are going to leave right after the show.
Or you drive right after the show?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to drive right after the show. That's how dedicated we are.
I see.
So if you see us inviting yourselves in your houses in Boston, because we're given the pin, mustukasirikie. It's because
you're given the pin.
Yeah, it's because we drove and hotel hasn't allowed us to check in asubuhi.
Of
so
course.
if you just hear
breakfast, matube, you know. Band cake ni sawa.
Tuongea after nitawaambia mnaenda kula breakfast.
Mahamri.
Dejaka.
Mahamri mbazi. Unajua wengine watu tumezoea kula mahamri mbazi.
But there is a place in you're in Waltham, right?
Yeah, it's Waltham, yes.
That's where you're staying.
That's where we are staying.
Yeah, there's a place there I'll definitely tell you to go have some Swahili food.
Okay. Yeah. That you're cooking for us or that you're buying for us?
I said a
choose
place
one.
You can go.
Choose one.
You can go. A place
choose
you
one.
can
You're
go.
gonna buy for us. Okay. It's
place
live.
you
It's
can
live.
go. Done deal.
It's a done deal.
Yeah. But thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys. Have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy it. The weather is getting better, as Mika said. And if you happen to be like me and springtime is intolerable, just pile up on the Benadryl.
Okay. Okay. Aya. Pole. Aya, so I want to thank everyone. Real quick, I want to read a comment here. Washeke says, don't the people in Comoros speak a version of Kiswahili? What the people in Comoros speak is an entirely different language called Kingazija. It has the same cadence as Kiswahili. And that's why when you hear them speaking, you may feel like it's Kiswahili, but ni lugha tofauti kabisa, inaitwa Kingazija. In fact, Comoros Islands inaitwa visiwa vya Ngazija. So their language is called Kingazija. Very nice and smooth language. If you just go on YouTube and like try googling people or YouTubing people who speak Comoros, even their music sounds like Taarab.
Batoto Bakongo.
Yeah?
Oh, sorry.
No. That's something entirely different you're bringing here. But yeah, so the people of those island people, like the visiwa vya Komoro, and during those times, remember back in the day, the highways were water. Kulikuwa hakuna highways. So if you lived across a waterway, you're more likely to interact with people on the other side of the water. And that's the reason why there was a lot of interaction between people who live on the coastal side of Africa and people who lived on the coastal side of the Middle East, like Oman and Yemen, and those places. Interestingly enough, the Abyssinian Empire owned vassal states in the Middle East. That's a part of history that we are not taught. It was so powerful, like the way, like we talk about people coming from outside and colonizing Africa.
Yes.
The Abyssinian Empire owned colonies in the Middle East, in parts of Yemen, and in certain parts of the modern day Middle East. They owned, and this is all in history. Yes.
That we're not taught.
This is all in history that we're not taught, meaning like they were appointing someone called a viceroy that would serve on behalf of the Abyssinian emperor.
Hold on, viceroy.
Yeah. Yes, they would serve on behalf of the Abyssinian emperor.
Yeah, the way they would serve on behalf of the British Empire, they come to the 254 and do Madagodhani and all that.
Yes. So this is another part of history that's not quite taught, but yeah, that's also a very interesting part of history, and also understanding the diversity of languages. Understand one thing: Europeans like minimizing African languages by calling them dialects. Think about it. Spanish and Portuguese tend to be very close to each other, but they're referred to as languages.
Even French.
Yeah.
When French,
yes,
Portuguese,
there's an association.
Spanish,
yeah, they're romantic languages.
Like a nonsense, bro.
But then they want to call, like very distinct languages,
dialects.
Kimaragoli na Kibukusu,
dialects.
Very distinct languages, but they want to call them dialects. So let's be very careful, like when some of these lexicons are grouped together. And that's the reason why I had to make clear about that issue of Kingazija na Kiswahili. And then Fab anasema your knowledge on the coastal history is quite deep. Kudos, I'm learning a lot. This is knowledge that I plan to be sharing slowly, because I came to realize that there was so much misinformation that was given, in the curriculum, in the Kenyan curriculum, especially about the coast. There's a very good historian on YouTube. He's called Stambuli.
You've told us about him.
Stambuli Abdullahi Nasir. This guy is an encyclopedia on coastal issues, and doesn't talk of stories at niliambiwa na babu yangu. Everything he talks about, he provides evidence of what he's saying. So that's just the other thing. And another small bit of history that also people don't understand, because when Kenya was promulgating the new constitution, some people were complaining, kwa nini Waislamu wanapatiwa kadhi Scots na nini. I tell people, go look at the treaty that created Kenya when we were getting independence in 1963. What made Kenya have a coastal strip? Because Kenya ingekuwa kama Uganda, ama ingekuwa like any other landlocked country. There was a treaty that guaranteed certain rights for Muslims who are living in the coastal parts of Kenya and all other parts of Kenya.
Kadhi Scots.
That's where it's certain limited rights, but that's where, and this is in the treaty that created Kenya. So meaning, if you take this away, legally, yeah, Kenya can be broken apart.
Kabisa.
Yeah, but those are stories for another day. Kwa hayo machache, yeyote ambaye anataka kunipigia simu, nambari yangu bado ni ile 1-800 mteule. Na operator akishika simu, mwambie unataka kusema na mjukuu, na akikuuliza ni mjukuu yupi, mkumbushe ni mjukuu yule yule wa Masai, because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, Masai by choice. Sichagui, sikagui na sibagui. Kwaherini.
Aiden, Daddy loves you. Jerry, Daddy loves you. Nemo, Daddy loves you. Until next week, be blessed.